Accountability is one that's a word that surfaces in my goals all the time, and something that I've always appreciated whenever I've seen other coaches work with their players. You got to hold people accountable. I really think it's important for a coach to love the game. If you don't enjoy being out there, you've got a finite window as a coach. And the day you don't like it anymore, the day it's no longer a source of joy, is probably the day you need to go find something else to do.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we're joined by the head boys basketball coach at St. Mark's School of Texas, Greg Guiler. Coach Guiler played college ball at Cedarville University in Ohio and finished as the program's all-time leader in assists and consecutive games played. He became the head coach at St. Mark's in 2006. In his 18 seasons, he's won 2 state championships with the chance to have won a third in 2021, after being ranked 21st in the country with 5 players who were offered D1 scholarships, one of whom, Harrison Ingram, was recently drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. The Lions were named Chevrolet's DFW Team of the Year in 2007. Coach Guiler was named TABC Coach of the Year in 2007 and in 2020. He's the winningest coach in St. Mark's history. When I asked Coach about his overall record, he was unsure and said what matters most is the 137 players and managers who have made coaching so incredible. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
How we doing?
Man, that is a coach's office right there.
Yours too. How many teams you got? Is that that's all your varsity teams?
That's the 11. I got that idea from Leslie Broadhurst, and I don't know if you're familiar with him. Just recently going through a brain cancer. Had a tumor in his brain, and they named the court there after him, and had been at the same place for 35 years. Opened the school, been there for 35. So on his wall, it was 35 teams. Wow. All like that. And so I thought that's a cool idea. I'll go with my 11, and but I like yours. I like yours though.
Well, our associate AD does the same thing. He's got a little team picture like that, but he does 3 sports every year.
Oh wow, yeah.
So we've got a wall covered with probably getting into the 80s now. He's been here for a while, and so our parents will do like big posters and things like that, and then sometimes I'll just put the little pictures up if they don't get a poster. So yeah, it's a good way to commemorate for sure and remember what it's all about, man.
That's right.
Losses, who cares compared to what we get to do for these boys, man. What a gift.
That's the truth, is walking in and getting to look at the pictures. I rarely think about what team maybe won more than the others, but I look at the individuals and it immediately kind of transports me back to moments, relationships, some good, some bad. Like unfortunately, some of those guys behind me, I don't know if I was the best for them, when they were here. And I know there are definitely mistakes that I made. And then there's some where they made mistakes, and because of that, they weren't allowed to finish out their career here at Faith. And those are, man, they're still hard to see. But then you have the coaching paychecks, which are the guys that finish the right way, and now in life they're just crushing it. And so always good to see those guys.
For sure.
Well, hey man, I just want to thank you so much for coming on here, talking hoops with me. It's always fun when I get to have these talks with somebody that I know, that I have a relationship with, but even more special when they're a former coach of mine. And so as my former coach of the pro ABA team, the North Texas Vandals, man, just thanks for shaping my playing career the way that you did.
You all were very humble to let me be a part of that.
How did you get roped into that? Because I know Zimmerman was like, we were with him for a long time, and it was a deal where I hope nobody thinks that I'm serious about my pro career in the ABA with the North Texas Vandals. I think that's what they were trying to be, and maybe in some capacity they were, but like it was a makeshift deal where I would show up as a 28-year-old at the time, way past my playing ability and career, and just try to make this thing work. And so, how did you get roped into that?
Boy, I'd have to go back and remember. Casey Topless
Mm-hmm.
and I had,
Yeah.
played together and been around each other. He was a St. Mark's student at one point and had coached at St. Mark's, and then ended up saying, "Hey, I've got this team I've been trying to put together, and my vision is to kind of be a G League affiliate of the G League affiliate of the Mavs." And so I think there ended up being a guy you played with who got a contract with the I guess maybe the Fort Worth Flyers at the time. I think was one of the kind of pre Texas Legends
Wow. Yeah.
versions of pro basketball here in Dallas at the kind of quote unquote minor league level. So I think it was
Very
just
minor.
random conversations with Casey, and then when I found out you and Jeff Clarkson were a part of this thing, I was like, "Oh man, are you kidding me? I don't. I'm just going to be showing up and letting them teach me. This is going to be amazing."
Uh,
It was
it,
fun, man. I really enjoyed it.
it was fun to get to play. For me, it was a high level at that time because these guys were younger and still trying to make it in some capacity, either overseas or chasing the dream into the G League or D League or whatever it was at that time.
Right, right.
Um, and but yeah, funny stories like getting in a van, driving to Oklahoma, playing and making $25, and then the worst part was the I had already played them a little bit, so they said, "Hey, we're going to have a tryout for to do it again. Come out to the tryout, but like you pretty much you've got a spot if you want it." The tryout was brutal. They made us run. We were doing things, and I had to go back. It was on a Saturday morning. We had a scrimmage with my McKinney guys, and I had to meet Coach Watson on the bus, and I'm getting on like, "Coach, I'm struggling." Like that was just way beyond because I didn't run. Like
Sure,
I wasn't
sure.
in shape. I could give you a couple minutes, and then
Yeah.
but
Not like you have
so
your teams running.
yeah, wow,
Yeah.
definitely couldn't do it like that. But no, all joking aside, man, you are definitely one of those guys that I know we're similar in age, but always looked up to, and I appreciate just the integrity that you're known for,
Wow.
and the character that you're known for. And in DFW, where there are great coaches, but we're both at private schools, and there can some guys can be known for just the getting players in and doing whatever. I feel like your name is always in that group of does it the right way, with integrity, and so I just honored to have
Thanks.
this time with you, man.
Now I'm honored you would say that. Thanks. And back at you too, man. I'm grateful that we've got a lot of TAPS, SBC, UIL coaches out there that we can just bounce ideas off of and trust that we're all trying to serve the kids to the best of our ability for God's glory.
All
Let's
right,
do
so
it.
I already talked a little bit about our history and you being one of my former coaches, but you have been so successful at your school, and I think coaches have to be really conscious of their daily habits. And so I'm always fascinated in kind of learning what do people do with their time, because you and I have the same amount of seconds every day, but how we use them is really important. So what are some daily habits that set you up for success?
Boy, I wish I could say I was perfect with my habits. One of my goals and as a New Year's resolution in 2023 was just to try to spend 23 minutes a day with the Lord.
Mm,
That's going to hopefully go up 1 minute a year for the rest of my life. So this is 24. But that's so I've got kind of 10 W's that define my day. If I can get to the end of a day and say, man, it was a winning day, I check the box on every single one of these 10 W's, and that was for me. I gotta wake up. That
yeah.
sounds simple, but to wake up and try to do so worshiping, that I try to, man, just sing. I love to sing
Hmm.
songs. I sing a hymn to my kids every night before we go to bed.
Man, that's awesome.
And I try to sing every morning when I wake up. I try to weigh myself. I go as soon as I go to the restroom, go weigh myself, and while I'm weighing myself, try to ask the Lord for wisdom. Um, so those are the first four W's: wake up, worship, weigh myself, ask for wisdom, and then I usually go
Let
out.
me jump into the with those first four because one, I go back to a comment you made. You're not perfect with your habits, and I think, and we know this, right? As coaches, perfection isn't the goal. In our faith, we're trying to be sanctified along the path, right? He's working in us to make us perfect, but it's never possible. That's not possible on this side of heaven. But I feel the same way, man. Like, I feel like if I'm not nailing like my goals for the day, that it's almost like a failure. And the same way that with our players, we don't want them to think that way. Like you're working on your shot, trying to get it more efficient and faster. Yeah, but it's never going to be perfect. And accepting that, I don't know. Like, I feel like you and I are similar in that. Like, we're probably a little too hard on ourselves. The danger is when we feel like that. Well, I just screw it. The rest of the day is already a bust. Like, no, like, let's start now. One of my players, Jack, and I'm going to give Jack Borman a shout out here, and he would get a kick out of that. I don't know where he got this, but he said, Coach, this would be good on a t-shirt. He would say, is it one day or is it day one? And I was like, Jack, like, that's probably the coolest thing you've ever said. Right there.
I love that.
But yeah, like, one day I'm going to do this, or, hey, this is day one. I think even throughout the day, we can think that. Where did you get these 10 W's from?
Just my own
Man,
pathetic need for organization.
I think it's awesome. Love that you wake up like with the worship mindset. See when you wake up what song or what's in your mind. And you know what? Like, the more that I listen to worship, the more that I'm in the Word, I wake up with one of those songs in my mind. The more that I'm away from it, I wake up with worry. Let's talk about other W's. I wake up with worry. Maybe I'm weary. No. But you know, it's like I think you're right on the money with that. Having that connection, being in tune with the Holy Spirit like that. And then weighing yourself, man. Like, it's like your bank account. Like, when I was younger, I used to never check it. And I thought, if I don't check it, it's not bad. You know, I'm not in the red if I don't look at it. And the weight, that scale, as I'm in a heavy stage right now, I've got to get back onto checking that to see what's happening with my body, depending on the exercise I'm doing, the food I'm putting in my mouth. Man, great start to the W's. Can't wait to hear the rest.
I try to drink 64 ounces of water before I get to school every day. Before school, yeah. That way, every bit of water after that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
If I can, that's usually my breakfast is 2 32-ounce glasses of water.
Is that harder to do than it sounds? Like, because actually drinking that much. Yeah.
Initially, it's real hard. Yeah. And then after, I think your body starts to get used to it. And so the first 3 or 4 months I was doing it, man, I felt like I was in the restroom all morning long.
Yeah.
Every morning. I've found a lot of health benefits from it, and it's been really good for me. Try to tell my wife every day I love her. So I see her early, and then I try to spend time in the Word early. And like I say, if I can get those 23 minutes this year, 24 minutes a day, then that for me feels good. I try to get a little workout in at some point, even if it's just getting the heart rate up a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Went in for knee surgery on Tuesday. I played my last basketball game last night before this second. I had torn my ACL 2.5 years ago playing ball at JCC. Tried the old Euro step at 39, and there she went.
That's the danger in the Euro step as you get older, is your knee will just continue to Euro in that direction.
That's right. But I think we as coaches have to keep playing. I love to play. It's my favorite form of exercise. I still see things as a player that help me as a coach. I try to officiate once in a while too, but I think officiating, coaching, and playing, if you're doing those three things, you're just seeing the game from a different perspective. And so I tell our players to do the same thing: get out and officiate games, come to basketball camps and ref, and then do as much coaching for little bitty kids as you can. Because I just seeing it from all those vantage points helps you dial into certain things as a player or as a coach or whatever.
That's really good. I love playing. I tell players all the time, like, guys, I love coaching you, but if I'm being completely honest, like, I would still rather be playing. Yeah. Like, that control over the competition and being able to actually influence, what happens on the floor. I know we try to, and I think you and I are similar in the fact that we actually want to take less control, give our players, empower them with more control. But I've been playing, was in these 3-on-3 games in Dallas, and it's kind of known as like the game. And a Baylor guy, Darius Stone, has created this game in Highland Park, and it's been going for 25 years. And I've played really up until this, man, the last 6 months. I was playing in it as much as I could, but I'm terrified of the moment that my knee goes, my Achilles pops. It's never happened. I get lower back stuff all the time. I usually like tweak a calf after a couple times. I
Yeah.
feel like I feel better when I don't play, but I would love to keep playing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Turning 40, I felt I mean, I just, for whatever reason, everything seemed to,
Yeah.
it is a magic number, unfortunately.
And it makes LeBron's journey just even more
Oh,
impressive when you get to this age. I'm 42, getting to this age, it's like the fact that he is still doing that. Now he puts 1.5 million into his body every year. He's made a science out of longevity and
yeah.
but
It really is. I mean, part of his greatness. I know there's
yeah.
most folks out there say that Jordan's the best ever, and I'm a LeBron fan just by mostly it's a selfish decision because he ended my high school career. That was the last game of my high school career was against LeBron. I'm from Ohio, and so we played them in the Final Four, and that was the first kind of big game of his on a major scene was there in the state semifinal. He was a freshman, I was a senior, and we had 13,000 fans or whatever
No
rocking
way.
blast. Yeah, what a
I
great
never
time.
knew that, man.
Yep. So if I can say he's the greatest of all time, then it makes me feel better about my career being over premature.
It's kind of like when people say, well, the state champs beat us. It
Right.
makes us
That's right.
feel or makes them feel better.
That's
Well, at
right.
least the greatest of all time beat you, finished your
That's right.
career.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
What was he like as a freshman?
A freak.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean his cousin Maverick Carter, who has done a lot of his promotional, I think like the decision and some of those things that he's been maybe criticized for
Yeah.
are due to Maverick. But Maverick's a master publicist and has done a
Mm.
great job of partnering with LeBron. And as a senior on that team, Maverick Carter was Mr. Basketball in the state of Ohio and the best
Oh,
player on their
wow.
team. But
Wow.
LeBron and him were both really, really elite, and they had a whole cast of folks. In fact, Drew Joyce, I think, just got the job. What was the LeBron's high school coach was
Yeah.
made a little run there in a tournament. Come on, help me out. My brain's struggling.
Um,
The
isn't it the school? I thought it was a school that the Seton Hall guy was at. That they made the Peacocks. Is that the same school or no?
I should
Man.
know.
Anyway.
I mean, they won their first. I think they won their play-in game and
Yeah.
then the first round game, and then lost in the second round. And Drew Joyce, though, was a player on LeBron. Was a teammate of LeBron's who was on that staff, who's now taken over as the head coach. They had a neat little network of guys there that
Yeah.
continued to have rich contributions in the game of basketball, with their coach being a real terrific leader. But LeBron, I I had a shoulder that would sublex and come out of socket from time to time. And one time I didn't guard LeBron. I was too bad of a defender, I'm sure. They put me on somebody where I could just kind of save my energy and try to do some things offensively. But he drove past me at one point, and I remember kind of reaching out to try to get a piece of the ball, kind of dig and stay with my man, and my shoulder just went right out of socket with him.
Oh.
He just took it right out. And I was like, I know that guy is the number one freshman in the country. They'd already donned him the king and all this kind of stuff in Sports Illustrated and talked about how amazing he was going to be. But he was at the time maybe 6'4", 6'5", and had kind of a slender build. I thought, man, there's no way I'm here. I'm benching 250. I'm in the prime of my athletic career. I was a 19-year-old senior. He was like a 14-year-old freshman. I'm like, man, there's no way this kid is going to be strong with it. That's the one thing I got on him. And he
Yeah.
just my arm out of socket like that.
Oh.
Oh, it was pathetic.
Hey, to your point right there, the fact that he was labeled the king at such a young age, and it actually happened.
Yeah.
He actually did it, and in a way that like respected the game, never off court scandals or troubles. The worst thing he's done is open a school for kids. Like that right there. The odds of it all happening that way, incredible.
Yep. Yep.
And it's because he beat you
That's right.
that catapulted his career.
He owes it all to me. You got it. Yep. Yep.
Any other W's?
Trying to remember where I left off. I always try to get in the
The
word.
water, the word. Yeah.
That's right. I try to witness in some
Mm,
form or fashion, carry on a gospel conversation with somebody at some point during the day. It's ideal if that's somebody who's maybe never heard the good news that God loves them, and the fact that He puts up with a bunch of messed up, derelict hypocrites like us, and
yeah.
wants a relationship with us. Man, that blows my mind. That's what drove me to Dallas. I graduated from Cedarville University. Having gone there, I got one scholarship offer coming out of high school to Cedarville University, in NAIA Division II school at the time. They're now NCAA Division II. A couple, 4 or 5 thousand students.
Wow.
Great basketball experience. And halfway through my playing career, I I started working at a church locally, and just thought, man, I want to. This is blowing my mind that God would love me. I just had to get more of it. Ended up being a Bible major, and didn't know what
Wow.
I was going to study, and just could not fathom the fact that God would love a messed up guy like me. It
Yeah.
blew my mind, and wanted to learn more about him, and so that's what brought me down to Dallas to go to Dallas Theological Seminary. And while I was going to seminary, met my wife, so that put me here for the long haul, and then started working at St. Mark's. And man, yeah, it's been a cool journey, but basketball's been a huge part. And I'll tell you too, like I thought about quitting basketball after my sophomore year of college. I
Hmm.
thought, well, now that the Lord's got my heart, man, this is more important than anything
Yeah.
I could do as a basketball player. And the president of the university pulled me into his office, and he had been a pastor at a church for 25 years. He'd been the president of Cedarville for 23, 24 years. Paul Dixon is his name, amazing leader. And Paul pulled me to his office and said, "Look, Greg, I love your heart in ministry. I heard you're not going to play basketball next year. I just want you to know I've been doing this for close to 50 years in some sort of full time or parachurch ministry, and I'm telling you, it's great. I love the fruit I've gotten to see as a full time man of the Lord, but you are a man of the Lord. What you're doing there in the basketball program is just as important. It's worship. Putting that piece of leather through that piece of iron. It may not feel like worship to you right now, but you're using the gifts God has given you for His.
Wow.
Don't stop playing basketball. I cannot implore you enough. If I could stop being the president of this university to go back and play on that basketball team, I would exchange it in a hurry, because I think that what you're getting to do is such a unique opportunity for your life. And I'm begging you, please stick with it. And I did. So my junior and senior year kept playing basketball, and it was a phenomenal decision. And I woke up every day just thinking, I get to wake up and worship with what I'm doing. So that's kind of the final W. Is I try to walk out of I try to walk onto campus every day and just say, look, I'm not working to make money. I'm not working to just grind through
Hmm.
9 to 5. I'm working as a source of worship. I want to honor the Lord with everything I do, whether I eat or I drink, no matter how mundane it seems. And it's for the Lord's glory. And so just want to work hard as unto the Lord and worship Him in that regard. That's kind of the final W.
Man, thank you for sharing all that. And I've talked with our guys quite a bit about what does it look like to be a believer and play sports and be competitive? Because there are times where outwardly you might think that those conflict with each other.
Hmm.
You know, like we're servant leaders, and we're supposed to be kind and humble and, lay down ourselves for others. And all of that is true. But I think also like we can pursue excellence in whatever we're doing. And if that is basketball, like excellence in glorifying him with how we do what we do on the floor. But I love that idea of it being worship. It actually literally being something that pleases him. And I told my guys the other day a story of being in Iceland. One of the few times I just like this overwhelming wave of that feeling of his presence, his pleasure in my life. And because some of us, I also am kind of jumping away. I also appreciate the fact of the witness piece, because like you at St. Mark's, like me at Faith, when you only surround yourselves with people that do claim to be believers, and you're kind of only in those circles, it's really easy to never witness,
Hmm.
to never venture outside, and to always just be in your bubble. And maybe there's danger in that.
Sure.
But I'm in Iceland, and I'm dribbling up the floor, and I get to about half court, and it's like everything kind of slowed down and paused. And I just remember feeling as if like his pleasure, his smile, and what I'm doing, how I'm doing it for him. I was, at that point in my life, I was being a witness in a positive way. I remember one of my teammates saying like, "Oh, you're a real Christian." And I remember taking it back, like, what does that mean? Well, it means that the believers he had been around. It's like that DC Talk song from back in the day where the believers that say with their mouths but deny with their lifestyles, that's what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable, right? Like,
Mm.
but that for that little moment I was, and but to have that feeling and to think about that, like what would it be like to Jordan Peterson talks about the aim of your life, which you're always trying to move towards. What a great aim for every single day. I would feel like that would make me maximize everything that I do, everything that our players do. So I love that idea, and I think I'm definitely going to borrow that, not steal, because one coach said our words matter, and so we don't steal, but we borrow. I'm going to borrow basketball is worship, and it's for His glory.
Mm. That's the hope. We'll see. I just try to put one foot in front of the other every day, lay a brick in that foundation, and
Yeah,
you know, let him be
but
on.
but that's where His grace comes in too. Like with our daily habits, when we're not perfect, when we do fall, it doesn't mean that we just throw it all away. We just continue. And one pastor I like to listen to, he said, "There's no failing tests. Like when you're a believer, there's a lot of redos, a lot of retakes. But we're all obviously not trying to continue in that path that we're in. But it's good."
And you mentioned Jordan Peterson, kind of just fixing your eyes on what you want your life to be defined by. And our word of the year this year was discipline. And that seems like kind of a generic athletic word that coaches are always throwing around, discipline. But ultimately, at the root of that word is disciple, right? And so you're
Mm,
constantly asking, what's discipling me? What am I putting my time and energy into? Because my actions, what I'm reading, what I'm watching on TikTok, I mean, those are
yeah,
discipling. My
yeah,
every influence around me is discipling me, whether I choose for it, whether I think I am being discipled by it or not. And so it's just like, man, how can I make sure that my life is being discipled by the one who really loves me and has my best interest in mind, rather than so many of the other things around me that I tend to give way more attention to than I should.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. You mentioned the great coaches that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I do think Texas basketball, and with getting to do this, I've been able to talk with coaches all over. Man, recorded with one from Washington State that he coaches on a reservation, and it was just incredible to kind of hear. And he actually took over the boy. He was the boys' coach. The girls' coach left in the fall. The Lawgrass, I think, is the
Okay.
school.
Okay.
And anyway, he took over the girls' program, coached them both in the same year. But there's so many amazing leaders and coaches out there. That's my main point. If you had to choose three characteristics of them, which is hard, what would be three? Or you could even go more than that.
Oof. Three characteristics. I think accountability
Mm,
is one that's a word that surfaces in my goals all the time, and something that I've always appreciated whenever I've seen other coaches work with their players. I think
yeah,
you've got to hold people accountable. I really think it's important for a coach to love the game.
yeah,
If you don't enjoy being out there, I think you've got a finite window as a coach. And the day you don't like it anymore, the day it's no longer a source of joy, is probably the day you need to go find something else to do.
yeah,
Uh, and so I think too. I think coaches need to be. I think they need to be fair. That I mean, accountability being so important, but I also I just think you need to communicate expectations clearly, and
yeah.
then
Clarity. Yeah,
so if you're fair and kind of saying, hey, here's what the standard is, and you didn't live up to that standard, then let's talk about consequences. And the first time that happens, then it's a one-on-one conversation. The next time, maybe you're looping in the kid's parents or other teammates that they respect, and then the third time, hey, this may not be a great fit for you. I have one of the best athletes I ever coached, Ty Montgomery. went to school here and then was recruited to go play at Stanford by Jim Harbaugh back in the Jim Harbaugh Stanford days, and then he is still playing in the NFL. It's been, I think this is his 10th year. He's with
Wow.
the New England Patriots right now. But Ty, when I first started coaching at St. Mark's, as a part-time capacity as the 7th grade basketball coach, and he was on that team. And then when I got hired as the varsity coach a couple of years later, I got to start coaching Ty again as a sophomore, junior, senior. And every year there were conversations. Folks were telling him, "Hey, you need to quit basketball. It's focus on football. Just stay healthy and all that kind of thing." But the fact that basketball occurred after football gave him. I mean, he loved the sport. He was always, he and his mom were friends of ours and still are. And I think the world of Ty. But he would go through these little segments that I would call Ty time, where Ty would just kind of choose to not go real hard, and he was athletic and talented enough to get away with it. And
Yeah.
kids necessarily, nobody came and knocked on my door and said, "Hey, he shouldn't be in the lineup," because they knew we were better when he was in the lineup. Even
Yeah.
if he
Life's not
wasn't.
fair. Yeah.
That's right. Talent wins.
Yeah.
And so man, Ty, his sophomore year, there were a couple of run-ins with some upperclassmen. His junior year, there was some real toxicity that he would admit to this day. His senior year, he and I sat down and I just said, "Look, you don't need basketball. Like you don't need this.
Yeah.
Why are you playing?" "Oh, I like it, coach." "Okay, well, if you like it, then let's set some ground rules as to what this season's going to look like. It's no longer you as an underclassman kind of letting the seniors sort of drive the action. Now you're the go-to guy. If you're going to be on this team, we need you to lead well." So the first time I see you not working hard, we're going to have a one-on-one. Second time, it's going to be with the team. The third time, you're off the team. We've got to be clear about what this season's going to look like. "Yeah, coach. Yeah. Well, 2-3 weeks into the season, he's having one of those practices. So after the practice, I pulled him aside. "Ty, hey, that was unacceptable. That's strike one. Next time, I'm going to up the volume, but you need to know that 2 more strikes, you're off this team." And so over the holidays, I had a young man, a sophomore, come to me, and we were one. It must have been before the holidays, because we were 1-9 midway through December, something like that. And he said, "Coach, he was a sophomore, great kid. He's a coach to this day. Loved the game and has been around the game, and just I don't know, one of those. I was watching a Muggsy Bogues thing yesterday, and little Trey Walton was like the Muggsy Bogues of our team, just the
Yeah.
engine, shorter than everybody else, but the biggest heart." And Trey, as a sophomore, pulls me aside and says, "Guiler, we got to talk about Ty. I don't think he's setting the standard as high." And I think it was on me that I had just gotten used to what was a pretty good standard for Ty.
Yep.
And like, hey, he's actually playing pretty well. But a sophomore newcomer who saw the talent that Ty had to offer was like, "What are you talking about? He's just not being held accountable. You got to do more." And so that kind of was a light bulb moment for me that first of all, I need to be good about creating a culture where kids can come and have those conversations. Yeah. And so that was something that I've always been grateful for and tried to foster going forward. But then Ty and I started to kind of look for it a little bit more closely and just try to hold myself to a higher standard, to hold Ty to a higher standard. And over the holidays, he was just kind of going through the motions. And so we had a team come to Jesus practice where, I mean, those kids it was a rough practice. I won't go into too many details, but I'll tell you this. We had some seniors 2 years later who were young sophomores on that team write papers about that practice because they felt the formative moments in their lives. And that team, that season, we ended up only losing 2 games in district play, 1 at the buzzer, came in second in district, had a great finish to the season. The following year, we only lost 1 ball game during the regular season. The year after that, those sophomores, it was just one of those moments that I felt like set a domino effect into motion. And Ty allowing me to hold him accountable and then turning the corner himself and leading the team, I thought set the foundation for some really successful teams going forward. And then he got out to Stanford as the star receiver for Andrew Luck and the Jim Harbaugh driven, Stanford Cardinal. And there was a practice that he comes back one summer and he says, "Guiler, I just need you to know that the things you and I talked about, there's still some issues. I'm getting better, but I'm grateful you were always good about holding me accountable," because he made it through that senior season. We didn't have to kick him off the team. And he said, "But man, I had a practice last week where I was kind of going through the motions." And I said, "Yeah, you're having Ty time." He's kind of smiled. "Yeah, I'm having Ty time." And he said, the offensive coordinator walked over, David Shaw, who was the head coach for the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years at Stanford, following Harbaugh's tenure. Shaw had a really successful career there at Stanford. He's no longer the head coach now, but he puts the play sheet into Ty's chest and goes and sits on the bench. And Ty kind of looks over at the offensive coordinator looks out on the field, and Andrew Luck's kind of looking at the sidelines, looking for a play from the offensive coordinator, wondering what's going on. And Jim Harbaugh's over there about to blow a gasket, and the whole practice is grinding to a halt. And the offensive coordinator walks back over, takes the play sheet from Ty, and says, "Ty, you realize what happens when I take a play off? Don't you ever take another play off." And that was one of those moments where he said, "Man, I've got to be accountable. It's not just a it's just the whole team suffers when I'm not accountable." And so, coaches, I've always respected David Shaw and any other coach who I've seen hold people accountable, especially when it's a creative way like that, where you're not just browbeating kids, but you're just loving on them well, and you're finding different buttons to push. And I think the great ones, the Phil Jacksons of the world, I mean, they're called Zen masters, but it's because they knew how to come alongside a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan and get those guys to push themselves. And it's an art.
Yeah, going to the dark side is easy, and to me, like, I'm a Star Wars fan, so the dark side where you get to access anger and hate and sometimes physical pain. Like we go in that route, man. That's easy to do, and it will pay off to a point. And we all know this. There's a point where they'll stop caring anymore about how hard you're yelling, how demeaning you're being, how much pain, how much running. They maybe quit, but they'll just stop caring, and it'll be all extrinsic. I think, to your point, the creativity that it takes to access the other side of motivation, getting to the heart of what motivates that player, and finding creative ways. But to celebrate you in that decision you made is the clarity that you had with standards for that kid. I think there's so many. I'm guilty of it too. We talked about looking at faces on the wall. When I look at some of those and some maybe what I would consider failures, if one of our speed questions is going to be what book besides the Bible would you give someone? And if I was asked that question, I would say Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, because there are so many great books, but that was one that, as a younger coach, I felt guilt. I fell to that level of, if I only had that, if my guys didn't do this, if he was more motivated, if he cared more, we would win, or we would be able to do the things I'm asking. Man, extreme ownership means whatever you're not seeing from your team or your program or a player that you want to see, turn the finger back around and it's your fault. Man, when you assume the blame for everything that goes good or bad in your program, but especially the bad, then you start to get creative with ways that, how do we right this? Instead of just torching the whole thing and starting over, which we can't do, at the high school level for sure. Can't just go out and recruit a new 12 and start culture over. That extreme ownership piece, that's what you did. And then holding them accountable. A great plan at the beginning of the year and rules that you're going to have, those are fine until it comes to that moment of when culture is about to break. What do you do?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish there was a perfect pill that you could feed every kid to make them put everybody on the same wavelength, but it's just it seems like every situation demands a different approach, and sometimes it's a tender touch, and sometimes it's a tough talk, and sometimes it's a playing time thing. I mean, I coach the golf team too, and it's so nice that on golf it's like, hey, this kid shoots a 75, and this kid shoots a 72. Sorry, 75, you don't get to play today. The 72 is going to get out. In basketball, it's like, this kid can beat this kid one-on-one all day long, but this kid has that ingredient that makes
way more subjective. Yep.
And it's just the plus minus and all those different.
But to your point, I think a good strategy is at the beginning of a season, and not in season, but the beginning of school, when you're first getting those basketball guys, and maybe you're waiting on a few football guys, but if that culture is established, in my opinion, and it's strong and it's deep, man, those guys will come and fall in line with those standards. They'll feel the pressure of not, instead of maybe them bringing in and just changing culture, taking it to another place. If it's rooted so deep, they can't do that. They can't rip that tree out, right? But and not that every football kid does it. That's not what, I don't want that to be the message. But I think at the beginning of the year, a strategy is culture is going to fail. Standards are going to be broken. What do we do when that happens? What's our next step? How do we handle those culture breaking moments? In my opinion, Coach, that doesn't happen a lot. I think we start off the seasons with here are our standards. And guys, when we hold those, these are all the good things that are going to happen from that. And we almost start from a belief of like, in that this is going to be the season that has never existed before. It's never perfect. Games aren't perfect. You can even take that into the drills that you choose to run in practice. Let's not. Oh man, Joe Crispin. Joe Crispin. I just did a talk with him, coach.
Oh yeah.
It is offense wins, like beautiful. But I just did a talk with him. Are we preparing for the game? Or are we preparing for how we would want the game to be? Very different. Are we preparing for the culture of our team or the way that we want our culture to be? Because culture will have its dips and will break. Players will push standards. If the rules, players will try to break rules. But I think, man, proving or setting up for like, guys, when we're late for a practice, what do we do? How do we handle that? When we are upset with our playing time, what do we do? How do we handle that? Like, I think that's a good maybe strategy. Sorry for rambling right there.
No, that's good. We showed our team the press conference that Jerome Tang, K State, had after their win over Kansas this year, because the things one of our assistant coaches is a K State alum, so he's all about Jerome Tang, and
Nice.
I've become a huge fan because I just think he says so
He's the
many.
real deal.
He's special. I mean, I really like him. I know you probably had a lot of interaction with him based on the Baylor
Yep.
connections over the years, and so I'm happy for him and just rooting for K State. But his reaction to having to dismiss a player off that team, and then his just kind of, I mean, the phrase he threw out there was just the next right thing, which we talk about again. Players all do the next right thing, but to say that when you're going through a hard time and then to get to experience some victory like they did with that KU game, it was a good reminder for us just to kind of think through, hey, there are going to be some highs and lows throughout this season. Just remember that, when you miss 3 shots and turn the ball over and coach yanks you out, that you just got to do the next right thing. Cheer for your buddy, bring them some water, stay ready to get back in the game, and then have great practice the next day. So it's easier said than done.
But it's the preemptive strike. Like let's prepare for that. So like if humility is one of our standards, like we want to show humility in how we enter the gym, how we train. If you don't have humility when you train, you can start to think that you're better than you really are. You can start to think that this drill, this effort in this moment, being there for my teammate right now doesn't matter because I'm so humility really does ground us in a lot of ways. So and we would talk about in our probably week 2 of next fall, we would talk about all the ways that humility will show up in a positive way. And we take a week for that. The trick to me then is to come back around and say, okay, we know what humility used correctly or living out in our life correctly looks like. How does it not show up? What are ways? And you let them think like, golly, humility doesn't show up when if I score, I don't point to a passer, or if I score and I kind of do all my, my stuff. That's where humility breaks down. We write that down, and we talk about those things so that when that happens, it's not the first time. Like if the first time we're addressing something within our culture is in the moment that it breaks down in the season, man, it's too late. Like we've already lost the battle. So let's plan on how Doug Novak said the first thing he talks with his team is about what are we going to do when we lose? Like think about that, because I'm guilty of, hey, state champs on 3, 1, 2, 3. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but we never say, hey, 0-1, 1, 2, 3. Like what are we going to do when that first game? What does that loss mean? What does a miss mean? When you're 0 for 5 and you shoot that next one. So I think preparing to fail, it's not meaning that you want to be failures. I think it's allowing our guys to know, hey, we prepared for this moment, and we have the tools to navigate and use this in a positive way.
That's good. Thanks. Just even you saying the word humility, I don't think that's a word that resonates. Well, it resonates with me. I don't feel like I echo it enough. So I appreciate you saying that.
But
Thanks.
celebrating it, right? Because like I think so many times, especially with something like excellence or humility, we see it, we don't say anything. Because
Mm.
like, yeah, you're supposed to be that way. Well, man, the more that we hype that up, the more other people see that and want to be that and emulate that. Like more is caught than taught, right? I think that helps a ton. Speaking of culture, what is an activity? And I don't think culture is just one thing. It's a thousand little things that you do, a thousand sayings, a thousand pats on the backs,
Yeah.
a thousand meetings. But some culture building activities, like an IUE that we do, it does maybe highlight or raise it up in a short amount of time. What do you like to do?
Um, we try to serve together. We try to one thing we started doing this year was just we've got a seventh through 12th grade program, two seventh grade teams, two eighth grade teams, ninth JV varsity, and so we had a tornado take down the one gym 4 years ago. So we've been operating out of one gym, which isn't that big of a deal when you're a boys only school. It's seven teams in one gym. It's doable, but we're not allowed to go in the mornings, and so we've got four teams practicing during that right after school slot, and then all the high
Wow.
school upper freshman JV varsity teams all practice in that one gym together from 4:45 to 6:30. So we started creating like a small, just little 5 minute overlap between the middle school and high school programs where we just have them partner up and do some shooting and some take charges together. Just do some little things where the older guys have to partner up with little guys, and
Nice.
they can beat each other up a little bit. And then we just sort of progressed through. We did it every Monday, so we called it Monday, St. Mark's, Monday, and just kind of had a word each day that defines. So
F F
SMONDAY.
Monday. I don't know.
They would probably have liked that better, yeah. So
Uh,
F Monday, that's good.
Probably
Well,
not going to do that, but I love the idea though. And
no,
man, like that's such a great nugget and something like I've never thought about is ways to connect those. And even if it maybe it's even because we do more of junior high in the morning, varsity and JV after high school after school. So the crossover there might be tough. We could do it with seventh and eighth graders together, and then we can do it with JV and varsity together. I think
mhm.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and we just the S was kind of start serving, and M was be a mighty man of the Monday, and O was be open handed and open up with your relationships with others. N was negate negativity.
Hmm.
E was be diligent. A was always ask, be somebody who's humble enough to ask questions, and Y was just yield your life. But the start serving, kind of that S, I thought that was an important one to have first, just because I think sometimes you're having a tough day, or maybe you're just bored. Man, the easiest way to kind of break into rhythm of excellence is just serve. Find a little way to serve somebody around you. And so we try to go do service projects as a team, and that's I think a big part of our accountability and to each other, but also just culture building is try to be servant minded. We try to let our captains have assigned roles, and they assign roles for just little things, whether it's putting up basketballs after practice or making sure the guys have their gear, or clean up hotel rooms, or whatever the case may be. So my favorite kind of on the court culture thing that we've done over the years is something we call the midseason monster. Back up. Now I say that.
Yeah, let's go.
This is our little our silly little
Oh yeah.
that since 2007, my first year, like Chris McLean and Sam Acho. And Sam's a
Oh
ESPN
man.
analyst, and his
Yeah.
brother Daniel Acho played for us the following year. And we've had just a bunch of different guys over there. So these guys come back and look at this and take pride in having their name on this little plaque. There's Harrison. We had a pretty good stretch recently. Harrison Ingram playing at North Carolina, and Colin
Yeah.
Smith at Vanderbilt. We've had some really talented guys who get to see their names on there, and then the players who are up and coming want to be on that little deal. And so all it is just we pick a week, some point midway through the season, where we only have a Friday or Saturday game. We don't have anything earlier in the week, and we'll just take that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we don't do anything all that unique, but we just score every drill and make everything competitive. And they're just, I mean, they are cutthroat and wanting to win that thing. And so we got a coach over there keeping score, and they're all fighting with him, like, no, 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 I got 2 points on that. And it's just trying to create competitive mindset.
Yeah.
They're fighting with each other and trying to make each other better. Iron sharpens iron mentality.
Yeah.
Uh, And yeah, I mean, the drills you pick, you know how it is. Like they can be bloody at times, and that can be fantastic. Some of the rebounding stuff we do, I think, is just critical to developing toughness. And I
Hmm.
think private school kids, by nature of coming from means, sometimes have a bit of a
They've
harder
had great
time.
lives without a lot of adversity most of the time.
That's right. It's not basketball greatness isn't something they need. There's not a
Yep.
desperation there.
Man, so creating the fun, to me, that I feel like that's what that one of the biggest parts of our jobs, not just is creating culture, but creating a fun environment that they want to go to. And I like to think that even if I ever went to a place where clientele was different, like when I was at McKinney, we had one kid living out of his car for a little while. You telling me that he cares about basketball, like when he's living out of his, like there's bigger problems, but I'd like to go to another environment and have kind of the same idea, because I think if you can have standards, which is culture, standards that are clear, but then also create a fun environment that, man, what if this is like the bright spot of their day that they
Yeah.
actually are excited to go. I love the idea of that game. Love the fact that, coach, you have it on a thing, because this is our lion games, and I'm
Okay.
taking it to, this is postseason, end of the year
Okay.
kind of a
Okay.
thing,
Great.
that we're about to do. The lion games are, you take these games that you could look up, like fun 1 minute games. You have a stack of cups and stack one, stack the other until the different colored cup is at the top. When as soon as that goes, guy races and shoots a three. First group that gets it gets a point, and they try for the to win the Lion Cup every game. We take 2 days to do it. There's about 15 games that we play, and they are, one is you get a bunch of you have to take a straw, move the M&M into another cup. When all of them are done, form a 5-man pyramid. First one to do that wins.
Okay.
It doesn't have
Wow.
to be basketball for them to love it, look forward to it. They have their team set, they have their names, they're going to come with jerseys. The Lion Cup is, to me, it's a culture building activity. That yours is awesome because it's in season. It's making them better basketball players. It's getting them to do the things that you want them to do, which is compete. And like you said, in different drills, that's great. And I think a lot of us do things like that. The Duncanville coach had, golly, what was this called? It was like 4 games that they played, that all the team stayed together, 4 different games, all the points accumulated together, and then it was the gauntlet. And then all of a sudden at the end, it was what team had the most points. And he's like, these are games that I want us to play, like 2-on-2 rebounding, closeouts, all
Hmm.
stuff. But because it's cumulative all together, it just raises it to another level. The Lion games achieve some of that.
Yeah.
Maybe not the in-game stuff, but golly, when kids are, when I ask seniors, like at the end, what's something that we shouldn't do anymore, something you wish we did, is something we need to keep doing. Lion games, it's the thing we need to keep doing.
Wow. Interesting. That's just for your team that you do that? The
Our
line
high
game?
our high school our high
It's
school
the whole high.
all the guys that are freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, because our seniors now have kind of, they're
Okay.
moved on, right? And so it's almost like this is the first time without this good senior group for us to do something for the new senior group. To, they're the captains, they pick the teams, and a little bit like yard school, grade school pick. And we try not to do that very often, but so little Timmy doesn't always feel bad about being the last one. But it is something that, I mean, I have to put in time. I have to get the Oreo challenge where you put put it on your forehead, and you gotta, without using your hands, move it down, to watch these kids do it. But then a kid's waiting with the ball and they've got to go run and bounce it into the goal. The first team to bounce into the goal, and to watch them all, like, talk about, we want to create humility and enthusiasm. Like, there is no cockiness in this time. Like, it's all fun. But I think all of this is about, and what you did with your game, is creativity. Like, let's get creative with this. Like 2-line layups for skill work. I don't know. Like, there's other things we can do. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think, well, the more creative, the better.
For sure.
The
Yep.
Lion games.
The line games. What was that? Is enthusiasm the second word after humility that you've got?
The four pillars that don't change, and these are, man, thanks for asking. I don't share my stuff very much. To me, and this was something that Bruce Brown with proactive coaching, we were talking about culture, and he's like, you do need to have, part of it is what you believe, what you feel like is important, where the direction you want your program to go, but your players also have to have a say in that culture. And so so what the way we did it was me and my assistant coaches, instead of at one point it was shape, spirit, it's the PGC, spirit, communication, hustle, approach, precision, enhance. I was directing with them. I thought that's great. I came home and I said, hey, we are shaped. Boom. Like it was on every t-shirt, everything we did, every jersey. But the kids didn't care about shape. And then I thought, okay, well, Jamodi, my thing's Jamodi. So joy, attitude, motivation, opportunity, determination, impact. We're Jamodi. It was on everything. They didn't care about Jamodi. So got my assistants together and said, what are the words that we actually say? The standards we really want them to have, like how do we coach? How do we meet? What are we trying to achieve? What do we want our players to be about? Overarching themes that work on the floor. Like we want to play fast, but that's not culture. I mean, it's a part of the culture, but like overarching. And so we came up with what we say excellence as believers, excellence as players, excellence in the classroom, excellence. That's what we're trying to achieve, not perfection. And then there's so many rabbit holes you can go with that. Humility is the second one. I think, and there's a good flow here. It goes from there. If we're trying to be excellent, then we have humility that, we may not be perfect and we won't be, but we're trying every day and we're never arriving. And then we go to toughness. Toughness is kind of like an aspiration of what we want to be that sometimes we don't feel like we really are. And to your point, our kids, what have they had to be tough about in their lives? Like they need new shoes, $400, let's go get a new pair of shoes. Like, no, not even thinking about it. Yep. Right. And so, but toughness is something that we are aspiring to be, but not just on the floor, man. Toughness is being on a select team with non-believers that are talking and thinking and watching things, and you being salt, like you being light, like not just going with the flow. And toughness is when we're playing a team and they're doing one thing and we want to, with all of our being, to act back and do exactly what they're saying, to say something, to do something, but we got faith on our chest, like that bar is really high. Toughness says we don't do that. And then it's all wrapped up with, we want, like Shaka Smart said, we want to be the most enthusiastic team in the state. When people watch us play and we stand for every 3-point attempt, not make, we're standing for every 3-point attempt, and we are celebrating misses because they're the right shot for us. Most enthusiastic. Wisdom Wednesdays, where our guys read a quote with conviction and enthusiasm, and they are all actively participating as leaders and as followers. Because as Adam Bradley said, followership is just as important as leadership. And we got to be able to train them in both. But those are the 4 that don't change from year to year because those standards don't change. It doesn't matter the kids. It doesn't matter the program. It doesn't matter the style of play. But then the 5th, if we wanted, like Coach K said, we want to have a fist approach.
Yeah.
The 5th, they get to choose. Those seniors get to choose that standard. Last year, it was passion. And to their credit, it was the most passionate senior group. They brought smiles and joys to the face of anybody in our school. They gave up, maybe because our 2 juniors really led us in scoring. They were co-district MVPs, and they empowered them to do that with just the fierceness of their celebrating when those guys would do something well. But I'm kind of curious to see what this year's, their quieter bunch, like what is important to them and what standard do they want to hold. But to me, it's like what Bruce Brown said is, and Tyler Costin, them being co-creators of our culture, to where we go over those standards, but then we don't have to talk about culture again. It's just something that we are. And one of my players would a couple of years ago would break out culture on 3, and I cringed every time because in my thought, like, we don't need to do that. Same thing with like win on 3. No, we don't need to do that. But if they're, or even family, I hate to say it, I'm not a believer in that we're a family. I'm a believer that we're a team that's coming together, that we do care about each other. But family can't leave in a sense. Family you can't kick off. Family, you can't they can't quit. But a
Yeah.
team you choose. And
Mm.
so we're not a family. But when they say those things, I don't say, hey, quit that. We don't talk about winning here. We're about excellence. We're about the process. I
All
let
right.
them roll with it. But I don't know if we can get those few minutes back, but that's it.
That's awesome. Hey, yeah, I love it. Uh, mm, the quote on Wednesdays, the Wisdom Wednesdays. Do you let them choose that quote, or do
Oh
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
so we have themes to every day, and I stole these from borrowed from T.J. Rosine and Emmanuel. My commitment Mondays,
Okay.
tough Tuesdays, wisdom Wednesdays, thankful Thursdays, and fun Fridays. And fun Fridays are awesome, especially in season, because we do skill work in our athletic period every day anyway. We don't do walkthroughs, we don't do light days. We get better. We do skill work. And that's not a knock. I feel bad when I say those things. That's not a knock on walkthroughs. But when you play simple, it's not about them, it's about us.
Right.
And but on Fun Fridays, it's shooting games. We have a pinwheel that we have all of our shooting games on, and guys get to spin it. Whatever one it hits on, we go do it. And they're like little kids again. And then we shoot half court shots because you just never know when you're going to need it. But like Fun Fridays, we go back to Wisdom Wednesdays. At first, it was like, hey, you guys pick a quote. It's your time. And then I saw a video of the Lakers G League team, and you could find it. The Lakers G League team, they were together, and one of the players had a quote. He was about to read it, and one of the guys was like, hold on, but make sure it's with enthusiasm and conviction. And he's like, if we want to go far, and the other guys are like, yeah, yeah. And then there's a coach that comes on. He's like, if you want to go far, you go alone. If you or whatever, but if you want to go far, let's do it together, boys. And they all come together. I you have to choose the right person to do the first one. And
Okay.
and these are all on our social media, because he reads it, and we have a manager filming it, and then they all jump up and down and they're cheering, but they're going through it. And I've been amazed at how, like, some of the shy ones, when I tell them, hey, next week it's your week, like
Huh.
all the seniors do it first, and then we kind of go by grade, and they bring it, man. But that's
Cool.
just something that we look forward to. But you know what? That's culture, and it takes 2 minutes that we can't do a defensive drill, or we can't shoot or whatever. Like 2 minutes, but they look forward to that stuff. And they got to find a quote that fits our culture. They're not going to say, hey, like, we win at all costs. Like, that's not. No, we don't. And so it's something fun we do.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
When you say you guys play simple, have you gone positionless? Are you when
Oh,
you mapped?
been positionless for years.
Okay.
Yeah, dribble drive, loved it. Loved the 4-out 1-in feel to it. But at McKinney, we had a 6'4" guy that when we got to the elbow, if we threw it up to the corner of the backboard, he could just get up and go. And he also had a mid-range. So when I got to McKinney, when I got to Faith, I just took dribble drive and put it right there. But then really got tired of trying to attack the world or the paint, but always having a constant defender there. And I would love to see the dumps sometimes, but I thought, the same way that I don't like rim running, because I feel like rim running only looks good in 5-on-0 when you pass it ahead and he scores a layup. But if you really look back over your games, how many times does the rim run pay off? If anything, that dude runs the middle of the floor. He drags his defender with him. You could argue that maybe he pulls a corner defender in and you can up it for a three. I don't know, but I just don't see the payoff there. And so I wanted to get away from that. And so I thought, what does dribble drive look like with five out? And I found Mark Cassio's stuff, which is Doug Novak's stuff. And you take your dribble drive spots, which is you've got your two guards and then your two wings. Well, where's this guy? Like or your two corner spots, that's the stretch. So you take the dunker spot out and you get to the stretch. Well, we don't care who is in what spot. We just call them dangerous spots. On our floor, those are dangerous spots, corners, alleys, and then one stretch. So you got 5 players. Fellas, there's 6 spots that have to be filled. When the ball goes through, the closest guy gets it out of the net. The next closest guy is our playmaker for that possession, which you got to figure out at the beginning of the year is who's not a point guard. Even though we don't use the term point guard, they all know what that means. It's the guy that wants to bring the ball up the floor and initiate offense. Yeah. So you got to ask your group, guys, raise your hand if you don't want to be a point guard. And those dudes that do, they're typically bigger, but we've had 6'5" guys that can handle it. So I'm not going to say you can't. If anything, 6'5" defenders typically suck at guarding the ball. So right. Let's get them out from where they're used to guarding and do something different. Once we establish who's not the point guard, then they can't inbound it, nor can they grab it. So they've got to go. We fill corners first. After corners are filled, because those are the most dangerous spots on the floor, then we fill a stretch. And we've got our alleys, and then it's very simple action off of that. Our goal is to get
point guard and your point guard and your trigger are filling the 2 alleys every time. The inbounder,
well, yeah, but not necessarily the same guys every time.
Right, but those 2 are in those alleys.
Inbounder and initial playmaker are alleys.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The corners are set. The odd man out fills a stretch. I don't care if he fills stretch on ball side. I don't care if he fills stretch opposite. If he fills stretch on ball side, it's like the shortstop. It's the cutoff man. Instead of maybe upping it to the corner straight, I can make a straight pass to him. What I've seen from a guy catching from the stretch is he can one more to the corner for a 3, or he can attack the world. And in transition, attacking the world from the stretch is great because they usually have a defender that's sitting in the paint, but he's also responsible for that deep corner. So you can finish it or you can spray it for an open 3 really early with the alley filling on that side, that if he doesn't like it, he can hero pass one more out for either a shot or a continuous drive. So offense to us, our flow is when leather touches fingertips. We're not running different offenses, a primary, a secondary into a continuity. We are playing offense, and flow starts as soon as leather touches. What that means is that they can't have any indecision or what are we in? You know what you're in. We're on offense, we're flowing. And the only thing I yell is we're flowing too slow. We're moving too slow. But there is no look over at me and what to run. Once we do establish those spots, going back to if the stretch is opposite, what's really fun about that is if the playmaker is one of our most dynamic players, which you know what, it's like Jordan Peterson said, with hierarchies develop. Your best shooters tend to find those open spots where because the danger with being positionless or playing a free flowing system is that you and I don't know where shots are coming from. But you know what? When I look over the score sheet at the end, they are typically coming from the right people. And especially if we're training correctly, which in my opinion means we're doing shooting games every day. Charting doesn't mean you're writing stuff down, but charting and role identification is, hey, we just played Ray Allen. How many ladders did you get? 1 or more, raise your hand. Oh, that's awesome. All right, 2 or more. Little Timmy drops it down. And little Timmy starts to see that dude and that dude are always getting 2 or more. That's role identification. We should be doing that. Shot selection is day one. Before culture. I think shot selection is your culture. Yeah. You show me a coach that says, quit taking bad shots. I say that's a negative culture, in my opinion. That's a culture that's going to limit creativity, a culture that's going to take away confidence. But
so what would you say instead? You're saying there are no bad shots? You're not saying that.
Well, okay, man. You're doing something that no one's ever done. You've opened it. You've opened the door. Shot selection day one. The best thing, if somebody was to ask me, what's the best thing I've borrowed? I would say shot selection scale from PGC. It has transformed our culture
the way that I talk to players, the way we handle the most personal thing in the game. Ask them, what's a 10? And you'll get 4 or 5 different options or answers, like, oh, a dunk, a layup, a free throw, an open shot. So they don't even know what the best shot is. We don't know. And if you say as a coach, hey, only good shots now, you got 5 dudes thinking that's different things. And so we got to know there's no such thing as a 10, and we all missed open layups. Okay, what's a 9? A 9 is a wide open layup. And guys, we love 9s. 9s, we'll hunt for 9s. We will take every 9 that we get. The more 9s that we get, the better off we are, the more we score. So we love 9s. We'll skip 8s for a second. We'll go to 7s. 7s are wide open jump shots within their range. That within their range part is where coaching comes in. Because if you just say what your range is, well, little Timmy says, man, volleyball line, but we've got to show them through shooting games. We don't tell them what their range is. We show them what their range is. And the way we show that is by creative shooting games. And there are hundreds. I have favorites, but there are hundreds that over time, they start to know what my open shot is and what maybe his better shot is, or when guys shoot from what we would call level 7 or 8 on our ladders, from the basket, which level 6 is a open 3 at the high school level. Level 7 would be a college 3. Level 8 would be NBA 3s. We have dudes shooting 7s and 8s. They are from this level 7 and 8. They are 7s for us because they've established they can do that in shooting games. It's not guessing. It's not what they did during the summer. It's not what their dad said they did outside their driveway when the sun's shining and there's no wind and they feel great. Like, it's established through months and months of our shooting games. And that's where you get less people saying, well, how come he gets to shoot that? Come on. You know why, little Timmy. We do these shots games every day. You establish shot selection and who can do what. Man, that alleviates so many problems, especially in a free-flowing system where I'm not pulling the strings over who shoots and what. If you were going to run sets where only 2 people play, you don't have to worry about shot selection because the screeners are going to screen, the dudes that can only pass are going to pass, and the guys that only shoot, they're the only ones that you got to work on their skill and their shot. But if you want everybody to be able to do everything, like in a 5-out flow, man, the way we train, and I like to think about this, like I want to train my worst players as if they're our best players. That doesn't mean that I hold back with my best players. I train my best players and I get my worst players to try to do what they're doing. And so everybody's growing. But the 7 is something that we have to help our players know and establish. And I'll tell them we love 7s. But Coach, you said we love 9s. Absolutely. We love open layups and we love open shots. So who's the most dangerous person on the floor? The open one. Where's the ball need to get to? The open one. That's like a mind shift when you start to play 5-on-2, 5-on-3, 5-on-4 offensively. Because I've seen, Coach, they can't find the open guy. They're right there in front. And we've as coaches have gone, he's right there. He's right there. It's not that they're selfish. They don't see it. Yeah. And maybe it's a skill component with putting the ball on the ground, but it's more vision. It's more understanding that the ball has energy and it has to flow to the open guys because they can make better decisions. But if nobody's more dangerous, going back to what, if the stretch is on the left side, and a dynamic playmaker has the ball on the right, I've opened a double gap with a guy in the corner and the guy in the right alley, a double gap, Coach, off of 0 passes. Most plays are meant to create space for your best playmakers. We've done it off of nothing. And it's a transitioning defense where maybe they're not very organized. They have the wrong dudes guarding the wrong players. And we can exploit that. So if that opening, the open player has to receive it, we'll up it to a more dangerous player. If that's not there, you attack that double gap. And they all have to be able to do that. If they can't, they better be able to add value in other areas. Maybe they are a great defender. Maybe they do rebound really well. They guard hard. Okay, if that's the case, attack that gap. You don't like it, move it, cut, and create an opportunity for somebody else. But going back to shot selection, the 7s and 9s are what we're hunting for, and we're okay with 8s. 8s are contested layups. 8s comes down to skill work. If we train correctly off of 2 feet off of stride stops and we give them tools like rondos, tools like Arams or Brunson's, where we stride stop, but we keep our dribble alive and we attack again. In our 5-out flow, we'll take those eights you can get fouled on. We can get their best player or one of their bigs in foul trouble. You can still do things with eights, but there's a degree of difficulty there. An 8 will quickly become a 5 if they go off of 1 foot at the wrong time. If they try to, it's not figure skating, right? We get the same amount of points for something simple and something hard. And so we'll try to keep it simple, but we love 8s too. 8s are typically those players that can demonstrate control. And control is the number one playmaker commandment is thou shalt be under control. People think when you start to play super fast that you've lost control. No, I just think you have to teach them how to play fast under control, because you and I right now in our 40s can play slow and in control. That's not special. A lot of players play fast and out of control. That's not special. Slow and in control. That's what's unique. And you know what, Coach? That takes time. And me and Joe Crispin talked about it yesterday. You have to be okay with ugly, fast, nasty basketball until he says fast becomes normal. Once fast becomes normal, you see turnovers go down and shot selection go up, or shot percentage go up. But just like what we said, we want to prepare for failure. I let parents know at the beginning of every year, early on, turnovers are going to be super high. Don't worry about that. Shot percentage super low. We're going to shoot a ton of threes, and rarely are they going to go in. And by saying that, I let them off the hook. I let my players off the hook. I let myself off the hook. This is expected. Oh, they made more? Great. What a great surprise. But we're not going to worry about that. We know that in December, it's all going to even out. Here's what loses games. So defense doesn't win championships, and shot selection is the reason why we lose games that are 8 points or less. Shot selection. Because you ask your players, raise your hand if you've ever taken a bad shot before or lost by 8 or less. They all raise their hand. And I just say that's one bad shot, and I use the word bad, one bad shot in every quarter. The bad shots are the ones that we do have our control over, but we got to know what bad is, because what's the difference between bad and good and great and so-so and not right now, but later? Like, those are all vague terms that we use that to me are confusing. So the 2 shots that lose us games are 5s and 6s. 6s are contested jump shots. When we take a 6, we have to find out why. Instead of that's a 6, that's a bad shot, we assume selfishness. I think the question method really helps with this, and that's where the scale doesn't rip away their confidence. It enables them to get to the root of why we took the 6 and what's a better option. So, Timmy, rate that shot. It was probably a 6. Yeah, Timmy, I agree. Like, that's a 6. That hand was out. And here's the fun thing, Coach. You know this from being a great player. The faster your preparation is with your feet, the quicker your hands are on the ball, and the more prepared you are to shoot, the quicker you can get out of your hands. 6s and 7s start to blur to where, man, it may appear in live time that that's a 6, but you pause film, that ball is out of his hands before that closeout extends. Dudes, that's a 7. But that's where we teach speed with our shot, not form, speed, because speed will clean up form. Speed will allow you to shoot more shots in games. And what going back to 6s, when you ask him, it's a 6. All right, why do we shoot that 6? Well, I just thought maybe this or that. And a lot of answers will come out. What could you do different? Well, either I could fight for my feet quicker to be there fast, or, man, if he's out of control, I can attack that gap. I can lift and I can try to attack, or I can one more. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right on the money. Let's be more patient and not stress about 6s, fight and look for 7s, hunt 7s, and then make that ball work. It was a disarming conversation that didn't say that he's a dumb, selfish player for taking bad shots, that empowered him to make a better choice, but shoot that thing again if he is open. And then 5s are 50-50 shots. We don't, if you wouldn't put $100 on it, if you wouldn't, like I tell guys jokingly, my 5 is a layup now. Like that's the only thing I think I would bet on. But step backs, I hate floaters, I hate Euros. Like all of those that skill trainers and I like fancy stuff and I like creative stuff and skill work. I'm a Micah Lancaster disciple in a way, where I believe in accountability tools and the way that they can get players lower, quicker, more dynamic without me having to watch them constantly. But all of those shots are super hard. Like Trae Young in the NBA needs a floater because he's small and those dudes are huge. At 5'8" taps, we don't need a floater. And most likely, even at the college level, you don't need a floater. If you're shooting those, or if your offense is creating step back floater opportunities, in my opinion, we need another offense. We need something that creates stride stop finishes, opportunities to Brunson, and kick out threes. Sometimes off the kick out threes, if you're skilled enough, you can lift, sidestep, and still shoot it, and that be a 7. But 5s get us beat. 3s and 4s are 3rd and 4th grade shots. And we don't have those players here at Faith. And that's what you say to wherever you are. And we don't go below that. But when I call timeout after we've shot 10 threes in a row, if they're all 7s, I don't say a word about that. We shoot the next one. And they know that because the expectation is we're about to get hot. Shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot. Like that's culture. But if I feel like we're shooting a lot of 5s and 6s, timeout, hey fellas, listen, like, what do you think about our shot selection the last few possessions? Yeah, coach, a lot of 6s. Man, I don't know if we need to do that. I think if you guys trust it a little bit more, play with a good pace, make that ball work, cut hard, attack the world, and then really make the right read off of that. Like, I think we can get more 7s, 8s, and 9s. Right now, fellas, like 5s and 6s, that's why we are where we are. You just got to know that right now. I think that those types of conversations, man, like you want dudes shooting with courage. One of my favorite things that a parent came up to me after games, like she said that, like, you guys all shoot like with courage, like they don't think they're gonna miss. I'm like, absolutely, ma'am. Like that's just how we train. That's how we do. And then being okay with losing with that mentality. Like I think you have to choose a style of play that you're okay to lose in. And I'm okay losing in that. Joe Crispin talked about we need to know that what our constraints are as coaches. We need our players to know their constraints, but we need to know our constraints. I don't want to watch boring basketball. I don't want to coach boring basketball. And that's a constraint of mine. So what means is because of my thought process there, we may lose a game where walking the ball up the floor and holding it for 2 minutes or running long possessions, running a set every time might have been the smarter thing to do. We might have won that game, but that's a constraint that I have. Coach, that was 14 minutes.
Nice.
Wow. I apologize because this is about
questions.
you. This is about you.
2 follow-up questions. What's an Amon or an Armand? You mentioned the Brunson and the Rondo. What's an Armand?
Brunson and Armand.
You said I thought I heard a third term in there. You said
Rondo.
Yeah, you said a Rondo off a stride stop. I'm assuming that's kind of the fake.
Aram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Air them. It's a PGC term. It's not a shot fake in the paint. You know, a shot fake or a lift is on the perimeter, but we don't shot fake in the paint. It's not our shot. It's a layup. It's something different. So an aram is 3 keys: knees loaded, okay, ball to chin, eyes to rim. So with our knees loaded, we do a 1 Mississippi aram where the ball and my chin and my eyes all go up for 1 Mississippi, but I stay powerful. I stay loaded. The aram to me is one of the best ways to show cleverness, to show control.
What is you mentioned courage and being complimented for building courage. That's for me a conundrum in basketball. Is I feel like a lot of kids just instinctively are going to derive their confidence or their courage from seeing themselves succeed.
Yeah.
So if a kid is struggling because maybe he's not getting the playing time he and his parents believe he needs, and then when he does get out there, he's pressing too hard or playing kind of nervous, and then it's like you as a coach, it's a tight situation. You put him out there because you thought maybe he had a little something to offer, and you see that first mistake, and it's like, I got to go ahead and pull you right back out, and then it's all of a sudden you see him nosedive even more, and then he's come to practice with his head down a little bit, and So it can kind of snowball the wrong direction. On the other hand, you've got that kid who maybe you don't have as much confidence in him, but he's got confidence the way he plays and he does some
Yeah.
things, and then you start to gain confidence in him because of how he plays. So, what are some ways that you get kids to be confident and stay confident?
Man, that's really good. I think first is like establishing with our players where confidence comes from.
Okay.
I always tell them a story about doing select ball with Darren Williams Elite and a parent, because I outlined a similar style of play to my select team. Hey, free flowing. You're going to be able to push through mistakes. You're going to shoot a lot of shots. When you're open, you're allowed to shoot. And so this is the tryout process. And the parent came up to me and said, "Oh, so thankful my son is playing for you." And I was young, so I really took that to my ego in a good way. And oh, thank you. And she said, his coach really stole his confidence from him. In my heart at that point, I wanted to say, well, I don't think this is going to work. I think I don't think he can play for me. Because the moment that they are looking at confidence in that way, how long until they start to, I'm the one stealing his confidence. Confidence. So we have to establish where it comes from. And most of us know this, right? It comes from two places. It comes from the preparation, the work, literally putting in the time in your craft, seeing the ball go through time and time again. We can help with that as coaches. I think the way we train our players definitely has a hand in confidence. That's where shooting games come in. Fail and fail again, fail harder and keep trying. And the moment that you get your first ladder, man, we're going to celebrate the crap out of that in Ray Allen. When we do green, yellow, red, and we're charting those numbers, those are the only things we write down are green, yellow, red numbers. When you have a personal best, we'll look over that and man, we all snap for that. You've been working hard to have a PR in your green, yellow, red. So like part of it is the preparation, the work. If they haven't, it's like going into a test. You're at the door and the teacher's at the door and you tell little Timmy, hey, be confident today. And little Timmy knows he hasn't practiced, he hasn't studied. My words are nothing. They mean nothing to his confidence. So it comes from the work. And then it comes from what you think about all day. Literally the self-talk in your head. Are you telling yourself that you are going to make the shot? Joe Crispin said, mean it. Do you mean it when you shoot? Or are you shooting from fear? Are you shooting from second guessing? Are you shooting because you think if you don't, you'll get in trouble? Your parents will yell at you. Whatever your motivation is, when you shoot, you have to mean it. Because in your head, you have that goldfish mentality of, I am a good shooter because of the time I put in. And a miss doesn't mean that I'm a failure. A miss doesn't mean that something's wrong. A miss just means that the next one's probably going to go in. So like you start to build, I mean, it's psychology. You start to build that type of feeling into players. And to me, 90% is between their ears, 10% is their form. So by the time they get to us, we do some shooting drills that like braces for your shot, tighten their shot up to where I don't have to tell them not to use their guide hand or to have good rhythm and flow. This drill teaches them to do that. Because if I just sit there and say, hey, not like that, like that, that's good. And I turn around, they're going to go and do not like that again. So I got to have systems in place. If it's me and 35 kids, that their shots are tightening and their form is getting more repeatable without me having to stand there and watch them do it. So once we establish where confidence comes from, then it's our culture, how we practice, how we talk, what we emphasize. And we emphasize that every player, when they're open, gets to shoot that shot. The moment that you have that as a part of your culture or your standards, not something written down, but something believed, that, man, talk about buy-in and training. Like, why wouldn't you work hard? You actually get to shoot this shot. And at the JV levels, they're not allowed to tell them no. So even kids that technically would be more red light shooters, they shoot shots. Junior high, everyone shoots threes. I don't care if little Timmy has to shoot from his pocket. The mentality of when I'm open, I let that thing fly and I mean it. Like that is something that you capture early on. I think if a 7th grade coach says, man, why are you shooting that? Culture, confidence ripped away in that moment. But confidence for them, they need to understand that I can't build it in you. It doesn't come from me. So that parent saying that they stole it, I turn that extreme ownership right back around onto them. No, ma'am, he didn't protect it. And Dina Evans said that years ago. She said, no one can take my confidence, but I can freely give it away. Now, that's where I think, as wanting to be a positive, powerful presence in their lives as a coach, I'm not going to say or do things that possibly does erode, or if they're not protecting their confidence, that does take it away. I'm not going to do that. Our training is going to show them where they're at. And then to playing time, establish early on with parents that playing time at any level is not guaranteed. Where our goal in those 32 minutes is to win the game. And there's nothing, we're not going to be ashamed of that. We're going to do everything possible with that. And we would love for your sons to be a part of that on the floor that night. But if they're not, their expectations is then for them to continue to bring value any way that they can. And I always give them an example of, as a career bench player at Baylor, I made a living, at that level, being a great teammate on the bench. And I give them examples of what that looks like and what that can be. But once we establish what playing time, what that means, I tell the parents that, listen, we need to change our thinking away from that on-court experience means development. Like, it doesn't. Being on the floor and playing games, I'm sorry, that's not where the bulk of your growth happens. Because take an AAU tournament, the best player has their ball in the hands over 5 games, maybe 20 minutes, maybe that's the best player. Well, or let's just say, like, they're not the best. Well, half of the time they're on offense, the ball's not in their hands. You can take that all the way down to where is skill development happening for a player offensively? Maybe 2 to 4 minutes over a 5-game span over the weekend. But there are things that you're learning there. You're guarding, you're running, you're learning a new concept. You might be on the bench there too. Like, there's still things to learn. But with us, development is going to happen in skill work, and parents, especially the high school level. What I can't promise you any playing time, but I can't promise you 43 minutes of intentional skill work every day. We don't take days off. We don't do walkthroughs. Your sons will get, on just skill work alone, an average of 700 to 1,000 extra shots up a week, along with intentional ball handling and working on skills that'll make them more dynamic. So that I can tell you safely, if your son never plays a minute on the floor, he will still be improving. Are there opportunities to gain playing time? Every stinking minute that you're in our program, you can fight for that. In moments where players are maybe dipping down, that's your opportunity. Like I did in college, he's not feeling great today. He has a bad attitude today. He's not giving his best. I'm going to steal his time because I'm going to stay consistent. But I think when you approach it like that, what happens on the floor, like, free parents up from thinking that this is about favorites, this is about this or that. This is about winning on Tuesday and Friday night. But I'm going to develop the crap out of them for 6 days a week, including Saturdays in season. And it's going to be intentional. And I've just rarely seen a player or parent say, I got worse over the year. Yeah. But now, truth, if skill work isn't at the core, and I think skill work, like culture, like playing fast, like shooting threes a lot, are things that coaches say, but maybe don't really happen. But they say it every press conference in college. We're going to have a great culture. We're going to play really fast. Man, we're going to shoot that thing. They all say it, but like, easier said than done. And that's why I appreciate Nate Oates so much. That dude says it, but golly, they do it. They believe it. And I think when you start from that point, almost like failure, how are we going to handle this? This is going to happen. Your son may not play at times, but don't forget, development is happening, and he has opportunities every day in practice to earn, to find ways in. And when his name is called, that's to another point that you said. When his name is called, the way that we coach them in practice has to be the same way that we coach them in games. I think a majority of coaches, myself included, would say in practice, we want to make mistakes. We push them to levels where they make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, we celebrate those, because if that mistake is made from conviction and effort, trying to do what we're saying we want them to do, lack of care, get them on a towel. You don't care, get on a towel. Like, that's it. But once take that aside, because that shouldn't happen if culture's moving the right way. If we want that in practice, we want them to shoot audaciously, attack double gaps with reckless abandon, go off of 2 feet strong and go through someone's chest, take chances defensively, and then have guys like, if we want that, then when you guys play in games, you're not going to get pulled out for doing those things. But if the opposite is true, coach, you want me to take mistakes in practice, make mistakes, but in a game, I know I'll get pulled for it. Confidence. And we have those guys you said that are just gamers. Like, it doesn't matter what we say to them, they're just going to do it well. Man, how often do you have that? The majority of the guys are the ones that could do great things if they're empowered to do great things, but they could also shrink back into a corner of fear and do less than their best. But I think, like, we want players to, when you get into the game, the energy goes up, and you make our team better when you play. And we give them opportunities to do that. And over time, like, if multiple mistakes are made, because I think you let them through that first one, because the ability to make up for it, to me, is really powerful. You turn it over, make up for it. Red Shannon at McKinney, when he turned the ball over, when he did that, I got excited, because that dude was about to make something good happen. Multiple mistakes, you come off, and then you coach them through it, but not in a way like you suck. Like, listen, here's what I saw the last couple possessions, but stay ready, bring value. I don't know. I just seem to think, like, over the course of a game, you get players that start to surprise you, because the way we're coaching them in practice is the way we're coaching them in games, and they know that they can work through things. This is all under the umbrella of effort is being given. Effort is like breathing. You have to do it. Lack of effort will get you pulled immediately. But those are standards that have to be set.
Such good stuff, bud. Wow. I want to play for you. Let's go.
I don't know if it is good stuff, but you asked, and now I kind of feel like I've wasted your time a little bit here.
I feel like it's a waste for me to do the talking. I'm the one benefiting right now. This is great.
What's up, Coach? Are you looking for a way to elevate your off-season skill development? Well, look no further. With the Ballology app, you can build a workout with our library or create your own content. Send that workout to your players, and then your players complete the workout by recording their session on their phones. You can monitor and encourage competition with our leaderboards for every workout. Ballology offers player development solutions in the palm of your hands. Get your team started today by going to ballology.com for more info.
I would love to ask you, I'd love to know this, what makes your program different?
I don't know. I think we take some risks on the floor, particularly in the defensive end. I think we do some weird stuff. We've been forcing guys left in our man-to-man for the last
a little lock left like Tyler Costin.
I've never read that ideology. I don't exactly know all the ins and outs of how they teach things.
Yeah.
Again, it was just something we started tinkering with a decade and a half ago, and
every spot on the floor pushing left, so even on the right wing pushing middle.
Yep. Yeah. So you'll see teams scout us, and they'll just start. They'll bring. I mean, if I've got a board here, they'll bring my 7th grade board. There you go. If you get teams, they'll start bringing the ball up the floor over here, knowing that you're going to give them the middle, and try to operate everything out of the middle of the floor, because they know you're going to let them go that direction.
Yeah.
If a lefty's got the ball, we'll send him left, and it's that's not something we do every game. We do a lot of adjusting. I mean, I'm like you. I don't spend a whole lot of time working on plays. I want to get as much time as possible working on becoming better basketball players.
Yep.
But on the defensive end, we will gimmick some things up and give people different looks with diamond and ones and triangles.
Nice.
And what I mean, we'll do some stuff, and we don't spend a lot of time looking at scouting reports. It's mostly just coaches kind of saying, "Hey, this kid can't shoot the ball. Why would we guard him?"
Yeah.
We do have a shot clock, so that makes things a little different. Where you can play some zone, you can do some different things that maybe kind of chip away a few seconds in transition, and then we give teams a different look midway through the shot clock to try to get them to struggle with recognition.
Man, that's a really good nugget right there about figuring out who on the other team doesn't shoot. Like, it sounds really simple, but I think sometimes we guard everybody almost the same, right? And maybe with a little differences with point guards or shooting guards, but like Paul Mills said years ago, he said, even at the college level, there's usually one guy that doesn't shoot. So don't guard him. But I mean, but not around the paint, but man, for most offenses, if you stick a defender, plant them in the paint and not chase a guy around, you got to worry about ball screen coverages there. But to me, following or going, that takes care of it. But I think that's brilliant and really messes with some people. And I love the lock left idea. I've never done it, but I think you're right on the money. Like, what if we just take every player and make them 5 to 10% less efficient because they're doing everything that way?
Yeah. Well, and I think the biggest thing is, I mean, teams offensively, every action, motion, set, whatever, depends on being able to reverse the ball.
Yeah.
And so if you don't ever give up reversals, it kind of thwarts any prep work they've done with offensive scheming. Also, if you're playing against teams where you have a speed deficiency, it's able to predict where the breakdown is going to occur. So it's like, hey, it's okay for you to get beat so long as you get beat this direction and we can rotate it. Just don't get beat the other way.
Figuring out a way to give defense actual power, because Michael Jordan said whatever the defense does, they're wrong. And we typically want to set our offensive strategy is set up to where there's just possibilities, where if your offense is all about musts, like you must do this reverse, you must go through this, man, you cut that off, they're done. But if your offense is built on, you have possibilities here. You can do this if they do that. You can do that. That's harder to guard. So defensively, you got to figure out a way to give your team power again.
Yeah. We use the word dictate a lot defensively because we're trying to make. Yeah, you're right. We're trying to be the ones in charge there, and it allows us in practice. I mean, we rarely work on any of those kinds of things. We play mostly man to man. We're just picking up. We're trying to. I mean, we will kind of turn up and down the dial with physicality, because I think that's one of the hardest things in high school basketball is what's a foul on a given night. Nobody really knows.
Crews are so different from night to night.
It's the hardest thing about
coaching. I feel bad for that's what we just teach chest so much, because as long as it's chest, it gives us a good chance. Like, but if we're ever getting handsy, then you're really depending on a crew that allows that, and that's hard.
But the flip side, though, is if you in practice are used to a guy defending you with his chest, he's a lot easier to beat. Like, once you get a step on him, you're past him.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like most of the teams that we struggle with, quicker kids whose speed gets I mean, yes, they're quicker than us, but they get away with more physicality.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's just like we can't turn the corner. We cannot get past anybody off the bounce. And so I go back to teams, when we're playing, I think it was 4 years ago, we played DeSoto three times in the same season. The year after that, we played Lancaster 3 times the same season. We had Duncanville on the schedule a couple times. It was just like, these guards are so quick and so good at getting into us with their hands that we can't shake loose. And they're getting 8 to 10 layups, dunks a game, and we're lucky if we're not getting a single breakaway layup on any of those teams, because they're hawking us down even if we get a steal. But they're just able to put pressure on us. And it's kind of like, I mean, I've asked many, many coaches over the years, what offense can I start from 90 feet? I need an offense that I can start running 90
flow.
feet.
You can flow. Yeah.
That's it. And so, like, just kind of, we've gone positionless. We've given guys a ton of flexibility and freedom. We just play. I mean, we just play in practice. We really don't run stuff. We just try to build habits and instincts, and then at times sprinkle in an extra defender or sprinkle in the freedom to be really physical, to make things difficult in that offense, so that they're not.
That's a good idea. What are some things that you do offensively to teach them to play? Like any specific strategies or games in practice that you use?
We do a lot of short-sided stuff. I mean, I anytime you can play with advantage, disadvantage, 5-on-4, 4-on-3, 3-on-2, 4-on-2. We do a lot of 3-on-2, 2-on-1. Kind of. I mean, lots of one-on-one stuff. I mean, that's if you can beat guys off the dribble, if you can create an advantage. I don't know what all you do one-on-one, but almost every day we do some kind of one-on-one. Probably my favorite default is just like two guys both facing the rim. You got a ball on his back, and you just go past him. You got to recover. You got two dribbles to get a layup. It's got to be a layup. You got to cut him off with that second dribble. And
I wish I played more one-on-one. I think that's an area like we all need to do more, because at the end of the day, you're playing one-on-one and 2-on-2 games, sometimes 3-on-3 games, and 5-on-5, like within there. And if you become good at those little games, because really, I mean, how often are all 5 involved in an action? That's why I was seeing a lot of cool 3-on-3 stuff lately. And Brian McCormick, man, I get a kick out of it. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. He wrote Fake Fundamentals. Fundamentals, coach. It is one of the best. You get it on ebook for like $5. It's 10 things. And I think he has like different volumes now that are just things that we do as coaches that make no sense. Like one of the things, this is not a knock. If you do it, I think Coach K did it forever, but running a mile. He's like, don't make your players run a mile. It has nothing to do with the game. So it's kind of that 3-man weave, stuff like that. He really just takes what we've always done traditionally and bring it back around. But he's one of those guys taking clips of NBA college games, but just showing the 3-on-3-ness of it and how other two dudes, who was it, man? Somebody said, like Brandon Scherr, somebody said, like the guys in corners need to have gravity. They need to pull people to them. That language, I think, is really good. But I think you're right on the money with those games. One-on-one needs to be played more.
Yeah, I just the more we can create one-on-one advantages, the more everything else gets easy. We play through the post with every player in almost every practice.
Nice.
We do some one-on-one post work where kids are catching the ball at their back to the basket because, like you mentioned, there's sometimes being an opportunity for a 6'5" forward to handle the ball against a slower defender, and that takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the ball handlers.
Yeah.
I think the same is true on the other end of the spectrum. There are some 5'11" kids I've had who are phenomenal in the post, who can go down there and do amazing work against even a kid who's an inch or two taller than them, just because they know how to crab dribble and get into bodies and shove them under the rim and go to work and get to the free throw line. And boy, if you can play inside out, off the dribble facing the rim, I think that's a little more natural for most players. But playing one-on-one inside out with your back to the basket, as long as you've got people reacting off ball and helping you create maximum spacing where a double team's not going to surprise you and get you into a jam, then I think you can do just as much damage to feed the post. Until they change the rule, which I think it should be a rule change that no offensive player can just displace a defender. But until they change that rule, it's one of the simplest ways to create offense. If we don't have an advantage at any position, skill set wise, if we're playing 5-on-5 against a team we know is better than us at every position, our default's probably going to be, hey, let's feed the post, because at least in the post we can get some heavy kid with a big butt and just start shoving people back. And at least get a little bit of penetration created to the rim. But the speed with which you all play is phenomenal. It's fun to watch.
Well, and it is all relative. Like I'm not trying. We for our level of play, it's fast. If we were to play you, we wouldn't look fast. If we were to play a 5A, 6A public school, we wouldn't look fast. But as far as just the athletes and the players, but I think the decision making and the shots that they're allowed to shoot, like the ones that we are okay with, I think there's a ton of coaches that would watch and be like, they don't shoot good shots. Man, in our world, the way we think, what we say, those are great. And then the ability to I think this is a huge thing. The ability to disconnect from one offensive possession to the next. Meaning, like, we just shot 3 threes in a row. Who cares? If they're the right shots. Right. Like if every offensive possession, if the goal is to get the best shot as fast as possible, and we've defined what the best is, a 7, 8, or a 9. Yeah. If it's to get that, and it's your green light, your best shooter shooting that. I mean, one of my favorite examples was my first year here. we had a good shooter go 2 for 8 from 3 in the first half. The 2 for 8's not awful, like it happens, but he was missing wide open threes. He was frustrated. If I'm being honest, deep in my heart, I was like, dude, those are layups for you. And you should, like, this is a district game. Step up, knock it down. Like, that's what I was thinking. And it's not what I said to him, but it's his choice. But on the way back out, said, listen, you're 2 for 8, but they're great shots. Like, what's about to happen? And he looked at me, he goes, I'm about to go off. I was like, yeah, like that's the way you got to think right now, because you can't stop shooting those. You're one of our best shooters, and those are what we want. 8 for 8 in the second half. He finished with 10 made threes. I've never seen 8 for 8 like that. It was against Fort Worth Christian. We made 25 in the game, but it was like he made the choice. But if he would have thought 2 for 8 tonight's not my night, then that doesn't happen. So you got to sometimes push through the famine. Everybody loves the great stretches, but how do you get to the great stretches, right? Yeah. But I think you're right on the money with playing through the post. I'd like to be more creative with, like, in our flow, what if we've got a 6'6" redheaded kid, Brendan Bird, that's really good. He can shoot it. He can't put it on the floor. But he can play with his back-to-back. He's pretty crafty. What if in our flow, he does have someone small and we can just yell out something that they instinctively know, dive in and just sit there? Like, what call do you think we should have? Because first I thought mouse, for like mouse in the house, but that's mean. And I don't want that to come off the wrong way. That'd be the equivalent of like, do him. Like, I just don't like that. What do you think?
We often will just give, like, kind of a punch sign, something like that. Just let's punch him in the mouth.
Brennan. Yeah. Name and sign. I think that's really good. The more we can have signs for things, the less that we have to want to be creative with a bunch of names. But I don't want to yell with my head like I'm a crazy person in a loud gym. Oh, here's a little nugget. I had a women's coach at Mansfield. She said, your culture and everything, make hand signals for everything. Mm-hmm. So like if you have like a moment of humility, like I haven't done it yet, but I thought that's pretty cool. Like, make hand signs. You see something in the hallway, toughness, man, like something. But I think hand signals for our actions like that's money.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel. Like, if you got a mismatch with a bigger guy on the floor and you want a ball screen with him, you probably have something that you're calling out. That's maybe you guys don't do any ball screens. You don't ever.
I need to do more. Ball screens for us are going to be dead ball actions that are orchestrated. That's the only time that we run any type of quick hitters on a dead ball.
Okay. Otherwise, you're keeping as much space away from the ball.
It's just our flow, and it's simple actions out of a few different passes dictate what action the cutters do, and the angle, the direction of passes mean different cuts, but all to open up double or triple gaps. But I did give our bigger players opportunities to, like, if a guy's overplayed or you don't like your pass to him, you could dribble handoff. We had messed around with passing and following it up with a ball screen, but man, I don't know. The simpler, the better. The more that I try to add wrinkles into it, the less we get what we want, which is dynamic playmaker in space to the world where they can score it, Brunson, or kick it. But I like, there's a part of me like I want to get there, and then if we have 5 guards, then there's nobody truly that would fit that post role, which I love playing that way. Then there's no need, but I like it.
Do you have all that put on paper? You could email me.
Yes. Yeah. Joe Crispin again. Offense wins. No, but he wrote the book about his philosophy. One of the best things, I'll send this to you if you want, but a guy from United Basketball Plus emailed and said, hey, can we do a deep dive on your flow? And I was like, what do you mean deep dive? He's like, about 45 minutes, just, have some clips and show stuff. I'm like, sure. But like most of us, it's concepts. It's here and out and we play. Not really written down. I would encourage everybody to, from culture to skill work to your offense. I don't do it for defense, but like write down what your philosophy is. And because if you can't write it down, like I don't know, I think I was organized, but I became more organized with it, an order of operations after writing it down. But this deep dive, I realized going over 3 or 4 games trying to get some of these flow actions that we're a transition offensive team. We play, our flow is really in transition. And because of that, okay, alley to alley, we slice, alley to stretch, we're opposite, stretch attacks the world. That sequence doesn't happen that much because the mentality is attack. Joe Crispin also said, like, offense is meant to be offensive. We attack you. We put you on your heels. We don't play offense scared. We play offense on the attack. What happens if we play somebody bigger, faster, stronger than us? We probably lose that game, like we did against McKinney Christian when they had 5 dudes that could play at any public school in the state. I just think I do have it down, and I'll love to share it. It's more concepts that will work with talking with 2 people, talking with a group of 3 or 4. Don't be creepy. Ball is coming at you, move away. The ball is a disease. Like you don't want it. Like that's a mind shift, because since we're little, it's ball, run, all rush together, and then to kind of teach them to actually stay away. That's something really hard. And then playful words or sticky language that in one word, creepy. You know, no, I don't want a parent email that I called you creepy. You're not creepy. You're being creepy. You know, like and have some fun with that. But I'll send that to you. To me, like
say those 3 things real fast though. Alley to alley is a slice.
Yeah, so alley to alley is a slice, and it's not a basket cut. Like a rim run, basket cuts don't happen. Like basket cut, hit him for a layup. When? Like, when does that happen? Unless you play somebody that just sucks on defense and they have no help. There's usually bodies in there, right? So a slice is a moving screen, a shallow cut directly to that corner on the side that you passed it. And it's an east and west pass. So the alley to alley is east and west. We slice. From the slice.
But you're slicing away from that alley pass?
Towards it. So here are my 2 guys.
You're talking a moving ball screen or a moving screen?
We'll watch this. So like as that. Okay, so 2 alleys right here. Yep. Pass goes. He follows it right to the corner. So straight line to that corner. Okay. Yep. Now, while that's happening, the guy that has the ball now with one lift and a jab timing can rub his guy right off of those 2. That cutter and defender right over the top. Now, the problem with that is, and we don't encourage we say to take the slice. We don't really want him to take the slice that often because that's switchable right there. Good teams are just going to switch that, especially once we got them a few times. They're going to call that hey, they're just pitching it or handing it off. No, we're trying to open up a gap, and not just a gap for that guy with the ball right now, but a gap for somebody in the future. So the next action, do you have anything on that?
No, that's great.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming you've
show me the stretch.
The corners just open up.
No, well, okay. Let's pretend that there wasn't a stretch there to begin with, which is fine. One of our principles or concepts is the cutter's always right. So when that cutter gets to that corner there, he has to move that player out. The player in the corner can't say, no, go somewhere else. They can't stand by each other. He has to move. So
that corner guy, is he moving either direction?
No, he's going up to he's filling to the stretch. But not creepy, because that guy with the ball isn't attacking towards him. So like there's a little bit of an understanding here. The guy with the ball isn't going to attack to his right, because one of our principles is you can't attack, and that's one of the few times we say can't. You can't attack a single gap. Single gap leads to turnovers, and that's where I don't like 5 out like this, because it's single gap, single gap, single gap, single gap. Yeah. The moment I turn my hand and I have my 2 alleys and my 2 corners in a stretch, double gap instantly. Alley to alley, slice, triple gap right here, right? So like what offense can you create a double gap or a triple gap on none or one passes? Not many. And part of it is having the paint wide open without having that dunker spot. But when let's say that guy then goes alley to stretch. So make that pass mark down to the stretch. So the guy that has the ball, pass it to the stretch. Now he goes opposite corner. So push him all the way straight. Yep, not a basket cut, straight line there. So all of a sudden, now we would push somebody up to the stretch. So think about this with 5 players.
There's already a stretch there, right?
Yeah, but now that corner would push that stretch to the alley. If we have all 5 on the floor, he would push him up. Yep. Now it's not creepy because he's still allowing the stretch with the ball next to the seventh right there. Yep. That guy with the ball still has a double gap, but there's a timing aspect there that while that cut's getting to the corner and he's pushing up, you can get 3 dudes on that side of the floor, but all have good spacing, but they're not near the ball. So like, and what we tell those 3 players on the right side of the floor there is that you are daring your defenders. You're pleading with your defenders to go help on the ball. Hey, go help. Not saying it verbally, but that's the mentality is I'm going to stay away so that defender has to choose. Take great defensive principles and we make them pay for it. If they're a bad defensive team, they stay away, we score a layup. If they're a good defensive team and they sit, we're going to make it work. We're going to move the ball. If the help side defender moves up, that's a hero pass and a one more. The dominoes have begun once we beat that guy in the stretch. And like to me, that we want that to happen a lot. It just doesn't have to when everybody's attacking the paint. We're moving it. And if we're taking the first available 7, like there's no rule. I don't know. 5 passes before you shoot. Like he said in Hoosiers, right? Yeah. It change sides of the floor. You create a better shot. Really? Or what if you were open initially off of the first pass and it's the right guy shooting the right shot in rhythm? That's offense. Let's not think that we have to run actions to produce that. And then, and JJ Redick, I kind of agree with him. He said a lot of college basketball is fluff at the beginning of the shot clock. And he said, that's why the NBA is so good. He said, because they just instantly get into the actions that they want. Well, what do I want? I want our guys driving double gaps and triple gaps. So how do we instantly get into that? We flow.
Yeah. Now just because you and I approach the game very similarly, but I'm challenged when I watch a guy like Dan Hurley and the way that UConn plays and how it feels as though they are so scripted and getting into so many things and are able to, they're scoring 18 plus seconds into the shot clock on average. And it's like, okay, this looks like the most dominant team we've seen, one of the most dominant teams in our lifetime in terms of playing. And it doesn't feel like their talent is it doesn't feel like the roster is rife with NBA future Hall of Famers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these kids are a lot better than I'm giving them credit for, but it just feels like there is something that they are doing from a coaching standpoint.
I think that goes back to our constraints as coaches. What we will allow and what we can't. Like, I don't ever think that Hoffpower, right? Coach Hoffpower, if anybody's ever talked to him, if you don't press, you're not a coach. You're not a man, you're not tough. He had a heart surgery and we were all texting to make sure he was okay, and his text was still pressing, right? like he believes it so much that he can't, I don't know, maybe he can't acknowledge, but there's no other way to play. Yeah. For me, there's no other way to play, but I acknowledge there's tons of ways to win. There's tons of ways to do this. You can hold the ball and score 8-6 and win. Like it's just within my constraints. Now, there's another side to that too that I think is just because he does that. I feel like the longer we have the ball, the higher chance or percentage of a turnover or a bad shot. So why not on the first shot? That's great. take it so we don't turn it over and we don't move it more so little Timmy thinks it's his turn.
Yeah.
You know, like if we have a little Timmy on the floor, and we've all had those from time to time.
Do you play that way when you're up 3 with a minute and a half to go?
Now, for the majority of the game, I would say all the way until the last 2.5 to 3 minutes, we are blind to the 3 things that everybody feels like you got to know: time, score, momentum. And at PGC, I used to teach guys, you need to know time, score, momentum. In my heart, I don't care about time, score, momentum. We don't do end of clock plays. If we get the ball with 18 seconds left, we are flowing. Don't look at me. Hold. Hey, run that. We don't do that. We will not stop. If it's an 8-point game or less ish, and that's where it's never black and white. That's where feel and the art of coaching comes in. 8 points or less is an idea that if I feel like we are still foot on the pedal, but not necessarily scoring out of those situations, and we're playing a team that has the ability to fire back in a heartbeat. If we got them on the ropes, man, we do skill work every day so that people can't take the ball from us. So we'll go wide, which is 2 up. That stretch, or whoever I want, moves to the center, 2 corners, and it's a classic delay game. Drive, come behind pitch. Drive, come behind pitch. You got 12 seconds every time you hold it. Hey, right now, only 9s. See, like right there, that eliminates any 7s or catch 3s. Or I could say, no shots, right? Like then it's like, then we know we don't even take 9s right now. But if you just say, hey, good shots only, oof, that's scary. Hey, no bad shots. Oh, what does that mean? So like the last 3 minutes, we're going to do what we have to win. Ideally, it would be foot on the pedal. Let's push this 8 to 15.
Yeah.
But there are games where I feel like our decision making isn't great. And I say ours because I'm a co-creator in this thing. I'm allowing them to do it. So our decision making isn't great. They are being so because and again, golly, Joe is, I think I'm not in love with him, but he, there's so much alignment that but he said, there's this road and there's super conservative and there's straight dumb. And we want to be on that road in between those two. Right. Yep. And so if I feel like we're veering on dumb, which would be 5s and 6s, maybe we're attacking too many single gaps. You could say, well, get those guys out. Well, I don't know. I kind of like my finishing 5 right here. I kind of like this group. If I feel like and it's the one time, coach, that I'm going to step in, and besides on the defensive end, I take control on the defensive end with what we do. But offensively, it's the one time where I'll step in and take control, and it's to their benefit. It's like a parent that just sees man, he could be making a mistake here. I'm going to step in. I don't want to because I want them to learn on their own. But I think there is the gray in the where Hoffpower says this is the only way. No, I disagree.
Yeah. But hold on, what were those other 2 rules? So alley to alley was slice.
Yep. Alley to stretch is opposite. And right from there though, okay, go back to if you're not a point guard, you're not a point guard, right? And this is where I think positionless and freedom gets a bad rap. That means just everybody shoots. That means just everybody's attacking. No, it's through skill work. They realize what they can and can't do through small-sided games. What are their strengths? If they continue to turn it over in practice, trying to attack a double gap with their weak hand, skill work needs to get your weak hand better. But we all have to understand, if you can't do that, it could end up limiting your playing time. Because I want guys that can't attack that double gap. And if I'll tell them, I need you attacking that, and they fail in practice, they fail. At some point in a game, they will not be on the floor because I need dudes that can attack the double gap. And that's a pretty simple thing, an easy way to explain to a parent. Why is he not? Well, we've been talking a lot about him hunting for 7s, but I think that's where the clarity comes in of what expectations are on the floor. So to think that free flowing means lack of organization, I think it's the exact opposite.
I think there has to be so much clarity, so many standards that they know that they have to live and play by, or else it's a free for all. So you want to have control and chaos mixed together. It's got to be incredibly organized. And so if that stretch doesn't like it, there's two things he can do. He can dribble up away from the basket, which we rarely want to do, to connect to that alley that comes and meets him, because there's two questions that you got to ask every player. Do they need help or do they need space? When Johnny has the ball, does he need help or does he need space? We want everybody to need space. But I had a Cole Mashagan who was 6'6", could jump and off a offensive rebound and throw it down, played hard on defense. When he got on the stretch, he took one hard dribble up. They knew he needed help. He went alley to alley. He sprinted, and then we continued our flow.
Yeah.
The third option is if you go down the floor. Okay, so alley to stretch is up the floor, that direction. Stretch to corner is up the floor. Stretch to corner would go opposite too. So it's really fun to go alley to alley, and to an open, let's say it's an open side. All right, alley to alley. And then we go alley to stretch. We go stretch to corner. We've had two people move through the paint, dragging their defenders. And then we have one guy in the corner that can drive right over the top to the paint in a shallow almost curve right into a Brunson. Like, I love it when dudes, you know whose offense I really loved was Illinois this year in the tournament. That one dude, I don't know what number it was, 3 or something, 6'6" strong. He would just drive down and get right to the paint, Brunson and post. That was it. They did nothing. Like, watch those clips. No one else moves. It's like to think that we have to.
Kid?
Huh?
The Hawkins kid? Or
Maybe. I don't know, but we're going to have an action we call Illinois off of a dead ball, where we're going to start with a guy in the corner. Whoever the playmaker is brings it up, go through, drive, Brunson and post. And the four just stand there. And you just wait to see who moves. Like, either I score or you cut and I spray it. Or you turn your head, you 45 cut behind him. But like simplicity. To your point with Dan Hurley, why doesn't it work with us? Why can't we do what Dan Hurley does? Do we have his players? Like, I don't have a 7-footer like that, dude. I don't have D1 players that can run. I mean, their actions are incredible. As a purist, like Bobby Knight motion guy, like, oh man, that's beautiful. And I could spend a lot of time making that work 5-on-0 and think I'm a really good coach because that looks beautiful. But will it work for my guys in a game? And does it line up with my constraints as a coach, what I want to watch and play? But that last pass would be a down the court. So if you were to go from stretch to alley or corner to stretch, it would trigger a space back. And space backs are fun. So let's say that you've got a corner that needs help and doesn't have a stretch, but there's an alley up above him. And that he dribbles out of the corner and passes down the court to the alley. Well, instead of cutting through, which would open up an open side, which is fine, he spaces back. By spacing back to the corner, replacing himself, he opens a double gap for that guy he just passed to at the alley. So, and then it gets even more fun. If that guy passes to the other alley and he slices and he attacks, that guy that originally dribbled back, he's in the corner open, being dangerous, hopefully having gravity to him. Those three actions, coach, no ball screens, no zooms, no zingers, no zacks, no wibbles, no wobbles, because I don't know all those movements, right? But they all look good. And in skill work, man, like, golly, that looks awesome. But what makes my guys the most dynamic lets them play with freedom and possibilities, but instinctively those actions in space. Now, against bigger, better, faster, if we can't turn the corner, if nobody from, like, it's always fun when you've got one guy on the floor that we call ground zero. Ground zero is no advantage. Right? It's all about gaining advantages here, small and large. Great players can take small advantages and make them big.
average players can take big advantages and make a play out of them. So if we have a mixture of those, we got to make sure that average players can still do something with big advantages, but no advantage. Like we need somebody, can you, almost like get him into space, lull him to sleep, rhythm, hitch, load up and go and create something from nothing in a double gap. If not, then every dead ball. And like sometimes there's some years where I don't feel like on dead balls I should call quick hitters because flow is our best. This last year, I wanted to help manufacture a few more points, or like I love getting dudes on the elbow with an open side and letting them reverse pivot and play. Like I think it's hard to guard. Great defenses don't bring their help all the way over that far. And like it's an NBA move, but let's just get a guy in space and let him turn and play. And one-on-one, like you said, is hard. It's hard. Like that's why I think one-on-one's good, because it teaches guys to guard one-on-one, not just the offensive side. So let's get him in those positions. But I'll take a little bit of control, and quick hitters are not the fluff 3 to 4 actions to get what we want where we want. Mm-hmm. It is pass, flare, go, handoff, ball screen, go. I don't know. It's just the way that with my constraints, that's what I'm comfortable with. Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the Jamodi Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them one rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information. One more thing before I let you go, because we've gone over 2 hours.
Yeah, you've been gracious to give me so much time. Thanks.
No, I actually hope you know that I'm sincere when I say this. Like I feel bad right now, because I like to get to know, I mean, I do know you, but talk about you more. But I also blame you because you ask questions. And I think that's why most guys don't on here. They don't ask me questions because their coaches are jealous of their time. One more thing. What's one rule change you would like to see and why?
I do like the shot clock. I think the shot clock has been fun. I was a little nervous about it, but I think that it ought to be implemented across the high school ranks. I know it's a little more expensive, even if you've just got a parent that's doing it. I mean, I know that opens a whole other can of worms. I think one of my convictions has been just having a son and daughter grow up through youth ranks. I would love to see rules change at the youth level. Like you mentioned the value of 3-on-3 basketball. I don't think there should be 5-on-5 basketball for youth. Yeah. I think there should be, and again, cost being a factor there, but rather than feeling like we need to have one gym where all these YMCA kids come together and you've got 10 kids on one team and 10 kids on the other and one basketball for 20 kids, and then there's playing time. Get all 20 kids onto 4 different baskets, and let's play 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 games with one referee in the middle, just kind of supervising it all. I think you'd see a lot more benefit for the kids. Every kid's going to touch the ball. There can be segments of that hour where it's like the best players are at one basket and the weakest players are at a basket. So the weakest players are touching the ball and playing, but maybe just a tad more camp-like.
Yeah.
In the YMCA world, I would love to just see youth sports overhauled to create as many reps as possible, because I just think confidence comes through seeing yourself succeed and knowing you put the work in. And I would love for youth sports to be overhauled. That's probably one of the biggest things. I do think that the foul piece for me is the hardest thing to coach when it comes to rules.
Yeah,
I like that we've got a couple of pretty black and white things. 2 hands is supposed to be an automatic foul, and an extended forearm is supposed to be an automatic foul. But anytime that a referee, doesn't call that after half a quarter, and I'm saying, hey, two hands automatic foul, right? And the response from that referee on that given day is, well, it's about freedom of play.
Yeah.
Well, no, whoa, freedom of play. There's some degrees of physicality that are subjective, and then there's some things that are supposed to be black and white. Two hands
Yeah.
is automatic. Like, why are you not calling that?
Yeah.
Why is the hot stove thing not being enforced today? Is goaltending going to be enforced today? Like, I just need to know what's black and white. So
Yeah.
I have a hard time coaching anything with without being fairly open-handed on game day, because at the end of the day, the flavor of the game follows the officiating. And so if it's super physical, then you've got to be able to make a change. And then sometimes you come out of halftime and the referees have gone and had a little powwow and said, hey, it's really getting out of hand out there physically. Let's start tightening it up. And so then you've spent your whole halftime speech talking to the guys about, we got to play more physically. We look like a private school bunch of softies out there. Sharpen some elbows and go to work instead of whining and looking at the referees thinking they're going to bail you out. They don't know that to you.
Yeah.
So then we came out and then our best player picks up 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes of the second half because he's like, Coach, you told me to come out and play a little more physically because of the tone of the game. And so I think just a little bit more clarity on what is a hand check foul, what can we get away with, what can we not get away with, because I think that drives how I teach. I mean, I spend a lot of time talking about how to be physical with our hands defensively, and some games that's really effective. I would say the later you go in your season, the more. I mean, we got to our championship game this year. It was the first game the entire season where we didn't get to go to the free throw line in the bonus. It was the only time we've not been in the bonus in any of the 4 quarters. And it was, I talked to the refs throughout the game, and they're kind of like, well, we don't, it's not about us. It's not about us. We want to step back. It's a championship game. And I'm thinking, why does it matter if it's a championship game? I mean, that's all the more reason for you just to ref an A-level game to the best of your ability in light of what you see. We get the best refs here, hopefully, for the championship game. That doesn't mean you stick your whistle in your pocket. That means you officiate what you see. So
Yeah.
make it that. I think those would be some rules, attention to rules that I think needs to be given.
Love the idea of the 3-on-3 for the young kids, and taking Shawnee Harley is former Canadian women's Olympic coach, and she does Winning Matters. It's her platform now, and she really trains coaches, talks to athletes. And when I had that talk with her, I felt like it was I think it's one of the most impactful ones. If I ever would tell a coach to check out an episode besides this one, it would be with hers, because it was like I needed to pay her for that time, like the free service that she like. It was therapy, and
Wow.
she talks a lot about losing, and the team that's most dangerous, the one that's not afraid to lose. But what do we do to promote the fear of losing? And what would it look like with those youth games if it was 3-on-3 without score, without a winner, just time, play free, have fun in space? What types of athletes and kids and competitors would that? Because if it's even at that younger level, you win, we get ice cream. Okay, we've already established a cost, like something to be lost there that can promote fear. And man, I don't know. I've thought about that a lot. Even in practice, do I put them on the line after a loss? Do we just get them to want to win enough, or do we have to threaten them with something? I don't know. I'm still out on that.
Yeah, and then maybe the Elam ending. I think that'd be a fun way to. I hate that basketball is 2 different games, that you have to spend practice time every single day, or at least portions of each week, talking about end of game, taking the air out of the ball and playing slower and all that sort of stuff. And the Elam ending, I think, is just fun because you have to play basketball to the finish line. There's always a hero. The summer league that we do every year is Elam ending, and I just love it. So much fun.
Coach, this has been an incredible time. Almost
For you.
2.5 hours. The speed round, real quick. These are going to be quick questions. We'll get to know you even better. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh man, Bluebell has a peanut butter overload ice cream that I really like.
Anything with peanut butter, I'm in. Greatest shooter of all time?
Steph. Yeah.
Not yourself.
Well, yeah, besides you and me. Yeah.
If you were to have a dinner party with 3 people from any time period, who would you eat with?
I won't count Jesus in there, but great question. Hudson Taylor's always been a hero of mine. Um, I've I've always gotten a kick out of Bob Knight, man. I would be intrigued to just hear him share life stories
Yeah.
for an hour. Trying to think of maybe, man, there's got to be some generals out there that I would be fascinated to hear from. Oh man, I'm trying to think of some of the best. Oof. Um, I this is weird, but I'll go with Mao Zedong, even though I mean he's maybe responsible for the most deaths of any human being in the history of the world, and so I would just love to know what was going through his mind. And
Wow. Okay. Interesting direction right there. That's good. Best basketball movie of all time.
oh, I feel like I got to say Hoosiers because I can't turn it off whenever it's on.
Yeah. It is a
So
great
many good
movie.
ones.
It is.
There's so many good ones. What's yours? You got to give.
Well, Pistol Pete, Birth of the Legend
Oh man.
was a made for TV movie that as a player impacted me in a huge way because when he was in the gym talking to his dad as an eighth grader and there's
Oh,
tears flowing down his face and his dad looks down at him and said, if you work hard, you can get a scholarship to play basketball.
hmm.
I was at the same age as Pete at the time, and I was feeling like him. Like I'm a size 13 shoe. I'm small and I'm slow, but I'm working so hard, and I
Huh.
don't know if this is going to happen. And I had the same goal as him. In that moment, I thought, like what he said, like if you continue to just work hard and if you believe in it, like you will do it. And like I just really aligned with Pistol Pete. And then getting into his homework basketball movies after that was a huge catalyst for change for me, loving skill
Yeah.
work. But
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
one. Hoosiers is it is one of the best. I don't know. I'll tell you, basketball, like the basketball in it, hustle.
Hmm.
Hustle has the best basketball because they're pros. Like they're
Okay.
actually basketball players that are trying to act.
Yeah.
When Hollywood comes in and tries to make basketball, oh, like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
ruins the story for me. But
Right.
okay, we got shot clock for high school. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
It's a good one. You're up three on defense with 5 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Look at the
decision.
NBA. Look at the last week of the NBA. How many coaches have regretted not fouling?
No doubt. Yep.
Now, I will say the downside of fouling. First of all, if you have a referee that wants to be a hero and he says, "Oh,
Mm,
the guy was in his act of shooting," because the kid reacts late, sometimes you
yep.
run it. And the downside of fouling is you could lose the game, right? If a guy makes a free throw, misses, tip out, knock down a three, now you lose the game. So there's a risk there, but I just think this math favors fouling 90. It's going to work out
Yeah.
more often than not.
Well, and if you think about it too, the team, what's that stat that the team that forces the overtime wins 75% of the time?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if that's exact or, oh, my light went out. That's how long we went. My light went out.
Oh man,
But I don't know if that's exact, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. What book besides the Bible would you give someone?
ooh, case for Christ.
Awesome book.
Yeah, you like Lee Strobel?
Awesome. Lee
All right,
Strobel heard him speak one time and bought the book. And yeah, I think if we're all honest, we all doubt. We
sure,
all have doubt.
big time.
But and for those of us that blind faith, right? But faith in general is just something that we're constantly just battling with. And not like we doubt our salvation or anything like that, but the validity of everything.
Sure,
That book right there.
yeah, and C.S.
Awesome.
Lewis stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Man, good one. The last one, coach. In basketball, who is the GOAT?
LeBron.
He ended your career.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's where we started.
Yeah.
Here's my case for that. So
Okay.
I don't think you know, if you look at LeBron in his prime and Jordan his prime or Kobe in his prime, the game has just evolved so much that it's hard for me It's like when Jordan was playing, people were talking, well, Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double for a year, or Wilt Chamberlain scored over 100 points. I mean, some of those names were still being floated as the best ever, even in Jordan's prime. It's like, okay, now here we are. Like, you don't hear those names mentioned anymore because the game looks so archaic when you go back. But unfortunately, I mean, Steve Kerr, maybe one of the best coaches, one of my favorite coaches. Does Steve Kerr get a college scholarship today? I mean, coming out of high school,
he's Jimmer. Like maybe a scholarship, but he's on NBA. Like, how does Jimmer not make the NBA? That's how hard it is.
Right.
Like that's
right. Yeah, and so I mean, like one of the most iconic shots of Jordan's career is over Craig Elo. Like I don't think Craig Elo has a contract today. You know, like but again, I'm
sorry, Craig.
I'm hating on, and I was a huge Cavs fan, being an Ohio guy.
Oh yeah.
Price and Craig Elo and Brad Doherty and all those guys. But so I think the game is very different. Do I think Jordan's competitive spirit would have willed him to a place of being viable or even the best in today's game? Very possibly.
Yeah.
But like he was jumping for the free throw line, everybody's like, have you ever seen that? And now it's like there's a player in every team who can jump for the foot inside the free throw line and go dunk a ball.
That's good.
But I mean, what LeBron has, I think LeBron was great at the pinnacle of his career, and I think what has made him great is his advocacy. I know there's a lot of people that differ with what he advocates
sure.
for, but he to his credit, I think is a little less of the mindset where Jordan said, "Hey, everybody buys sneakers. I'm going to just kind of appeal to everybody." I think LeBron is a businessman extraordinaire in his own right, but he's also willing to say some unpopular things. Yep. And so I think that kind of has created a category where he has athletically grabbed a microphone. And again, a lot of people, and I disagree with many things he said, but I'm just saying that I still respect the fact that he has carved a platform and felt compelled and courageous enough to use that platform for doing things off the court that he finds important. And then certainly the longevity. I mean, you look at Kareem or some of the other guys who had long careers. I still think there's just a level at which he's playing that is fun to watch. I mean, he looked really good at the end of this year, and if it wasn't for Jamal Murray being Jamal Murray, I mean, there's a chance the Lakers pull off that upset.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of arguments to be had there, but
Coach. Hey, man, I just want to, first of all, thank you so much for your friendship. Thank you for the coach that you are and what you represent. We both love the profession, but just knowing there's guys like you out there is awesome. And I do mean this. I apologize if I did talk too much throughout it, but I do feel like it was just two coaches just having a good talk. Yeah. And you asked me questions, but just know this, man, I appreciate your time so much. This was awesome.
Well, I got a ton of notes and I'm grateful. You're the man. Thanks, Matt. Keep doing the good work. And man, pray for me. Need all I can get.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.